fancy meeting you here in my home. I'm so glad you're here. I hope you're having a wonderful day. And joining me today, because it's going to be a fabulous day, is Zara made it. Yay! Yay, yay, yay. And then, of course, you know him. I love him. My technical producer, my brother, my writing partner, Tom. Yay!
Hello, everyone.
Here we are. It's lovely. So
we made it.
We made it.
We're going to talk about a subject we're all a little
I remember to
about.
click the live button, so I'm already proud of myself. Okay. Because, if you've ever been backstage with me, you know it can take up to 3 times.
We are friends, and it may not be the end of the world.
Yeah. Everybody keeps talking about dystopia and the apocalypses, so it's like, fine, it's the end of the world, but do you still need friends? If you really are quite sure it's the end of the world?
Yeah. Because they're the ones who will, A, keep you sane, and if you're lucky, will help you survive and based on their skills.
Fair. That's fair. The keeping me mildly sane is the part that I am a huge fan of.
Mildly sane. We're not going to say they keep us entirely sane.
No, I don't think it's possible. I'm not saying anything about anybody else's, grip on reality, but mine, it's like, look, mild is best option.
We come from Glory. Let's be honest. We come from a long line of people who are at best mildly sane.
Yeah, on their good days.
Yeah.
On their bad days.
We've got quotes from all of them going back a few generations of. Wait, did they really say that? Oh, they not only said that, they admitted to it in public.
Yeah, my family will say some stuff. So, hey. It's grand.
My family falls under that. We kind of live by the rule that, wow, sorry. I'm drinking this, and I think there's more sugar in it than I'm used to because it's in my throat. My family kind of lives under the rule, don't say or write anything that you wouldn't want printed on the front of the New York Times because so my family is made up of lawyers. So while I've definitely said stuff on author tube where I'm like, I don't know if I want that plastered on like the front page. It's nothing that like if it came up, I'd be like, I'm mortified. I would like to hide in a hole now for the rest of my life.
Oh, no. Best quote, best situation ever.
Now, we're just dragging family now. Okay, I know where you're going.
No. I'm specifically dragging no one in my family. I'm dragging people who criticize my family.
Oh, okay.
Is, that scene of where you were at the at the meeting while you were working with Student Prince.
Okay.
And someone in the audience literally asked, okay, fine, you want to tell it?
So the audience was actually my university's honor society. They have like a course you could take for a credit, and essentially what it meant was they had weekly speakers, and you didn't have to go to all of them. You had to go to a majority of them. So
it's a club or it's a class?
No, the honor society is like, it means the honor society, like you have to have a 3.5 GPA to be a part of. There are academic requirements, and it definitely affects when your name is called when you graduate because the honor society gets called before everyone else in that grouping.
Because I've been in honors almost unintentionally every semester of undergrad, but it wasn't like anything special.
Like while I was at my university, they made it from a society to the college, like so they became the honors college.
Okay.
And so
with graduating with honors, that was separate.
So
as Glory found out, because she graduated with honors without going through the honors college, which has, oh my God, crazy requirements.
Yes. Like it was like essentially the AP of college courses. Anyway, that's a whole nother oddness. But so I had been invited to a panel about my column in the student newspaper at my university. They made a panel.
This is in the past, right? It's not.
Yes, this was while I was a college student there, getting my bachelor's in education and curriculum from the College of Psychology. This was while I was doing that. I was writing for the student newspaper on campus. and I was writing a sex column. That was what I did. And it made international news. The president of my university tried to expel me for what I was writing, which, by the way, was not graphic. I did not.
It was just informative.
Were you giving it? Oh, you're giving educating.
Yes, it was an education-based article or column, in part because I was in the education program, and I'm like, hello, education. Yeah, this is my jam. And they hired me based on my articles that I had submitted from LiveJournal. If you're old enough, for those who are old enough to remember LiveJournal.
I know what it is. I was never on.
I've heard tell. Yeah, before the Russians.
I've read LiveJournals. I just never had one myself. I was like in blogger days, and then obviously everything since.
On LiveJournal, I used to write essentially reaction essays to articles from Psychology Today and other psychology-based magazines, newspapers, journals. Yes, Barrett is that old. Thank you, darling. I appreciate the solidarity here. But so that was, they hired me on spec on what I had written in my blog. And then within literally, 2 columns, the president of the university tried to expel me for what I was writing in the student newspaper. So anyway, he failed. Thank you, civil rights era, for saving me, because he was only able to succeed. He only failed because of how the university newspaper had been reorganized after it was closed down, when it did groundbreaking scoop on setting up a black man to go to prison when he tried to apply for admissions at this university in the 60s.
I remember you mentioning that too.
So when the president failed, he was, kind of cranky about it, to say the least, and he certainly wrote his own opinions about it. And so the next semester, while I was still writing the column, the Honors College asked me to be part of a panel where they also invited the head editor, the executive editor of the student newspaper, and they invited the head of the Alumni Association to speak on this particular incident. So that is the setup. And then we opened it up after everybody had a 10-minute speech they could give. I did my 10 minutes. The executive editor did his 10 minutes. The Alumni Association president did his 10 minutes. And then we opened it up for Q&A. And one of the very first questions is, what does your mother think about all of this? Aren't you ashamed? My mother was in the audience and literally popped up.
Good.
Like the little...
As best she could.
Like the tiny little woman that she was, she just popped up and she's like, I'm her mother and I can speak about this. And I was like, come up to the mic, mother.
Let's say she stood up, but she was actually still the same height as everyone else sitting.
She was so teeny tiny. She was like, anyway.
It was like, come forward because no one could see you.
Right. They couldn't see her. And the room absorbed it. So yeah, she spoke about, what does your mother think about this? And I explained, I have never written anything or even put into print anything that I am not comfortable being up on a billboard where everyone drives by twice a day to and from work. And I believe that because I was given very good legal advice by when I took education law. It was a legal requirement that all teachers, according to the Mississippi legislature, had to take education law class. It was a 3 CEU class. So it was quite a bit of work. So you had to be well-versed in the legal side of education in Mississippi, because teachers are held to a different legal standard than regular citizens. Like even in their off time, they are held to a different legal standard of behavior than regular citizens are, since they are teaching children. Hello to mama. So
that's a reasonable...
Well, because teachers are seen as authority figures, just like police in Mississippi are also held to a different legal standard of behavior, even when they're not on the job, than regular citizens are held to.
I feel the South scares me as a non-white male person for basically every part of my identity, but I do like that.
Yes, I agree, because I see where children and even their parents would see teachers as authority figures. And therefore, so part of it was that teachers or future teachers needed to understand in this class, that if someone comes to you with, I think a crime is being committed, whether the crime is against that person, such as sex abuse, or the crime is being committed against someone else, the teacher cannot just go, oh, well, maybe you should go talk to a police officer. No, instead, the teacher actually has a legal obligation to pursue it. Yeah, to pursue it to the next level of whoever is required for investigation. Because a teacher is seen by the regular society as a more authoritative figure than just a regular old citizen. Like, people go to teach, and actually, I found that to be true. I haven't been a teacher in years. And yet people still, like in South Mississippi, will come to me and go, Glory, this thing has happened. What do you think I should do? And they ask me like as if I am like their priest or something. And I'm like, I'm just a person. But it's because of that. They knew I was a teacher. They know I'm a librarian. And so I do have an authoritative status in their mind. And so, yeah, I have a higher legal obligation.
I feel like from the other side, if we had that in New York, my classmates wouldn't have been able to be as disrespectful to my teachers, and I wouldn't have wanted to be like, shut up. Can you please just let me learn in peace?
Yeah.
Exactly. So, yeah, that was what. So, yes, Tom, do you want to talk about, say what Mom said? Do you want to do that bit?
What was it? Not only am I proud of everything she has said and put into print, but I've been annoyed that she has not put other things in that I suggested.
And then I did pop in of like, she edits all of my articles. She's edited every single article before it's gone to print. So, yes, people were quite... Well, the person asking was nonplussed. And then everyone else, though, was very much amused and reassured, since it's mostly college students and then some faculty who are attending. It's free, even if you are not taking the course. It's free for you to attend any of the Honors College talks at the university. You don't even need to be associated with the university to attend these talks for free. So I still go to some of them, pre-Panini. So anyhow,
hear that.
It's really nice. Like, we've had really rather famous quantum physicists come in and give talks, because the Honors College will pay for travel and stuff for people to come in from out of town. And so we've gotten some really lovely speakers to come in and give free talks that's open to the public. So, yeah.
I'd say if you can name a musician who's known by name in classical pieces, they've all come through USM to talk in the last 20 years. Was it Itzhak Perlman comes like every 3 to 4 years?
Perlman comes at least every other, if not every 3 years. And there's some Italian maestros who also regularly come through. And I know because when I worked at the liquor store, they'd always come to the liquor store I worked at to get their favorite Italian and American liquors to buy as gifts when they would come stay. So
the Russian ballet comes through every 4 years.
Russian ballet comes through every 4 years to South Mississippi, and it's pretty awesome. And it's South Mississippi prices for tickets, not New York or New Orleans prices. So very nice, very nice.
I'll be right back. Riley is doing something, and I don't know if it's...
Absolutely. Go tend to the fur baby, and we will go say hello to everybody. Barrett's here. Hello, hello.
Good girl.
Eva is here. Hello, sweetie. I did eventually see your message. I hope to get to see you at the after party. Sid is here. Hello, my sweet Sid. I hope you are doing all right. Let us know how you are. Agul Creates. Hello. How are you? I don't know that I've seen you before. I'm happy to see you now. Michael CB Chen is here. Hello. Hello. How is it in the Great North? Maggie is here. Mwah. Hello, lovely. Zara's over here doing double duty in the chat. Excellent, excellent. Let's see. I'm just scanning. Oh, Heather is here. Hello, sweetie. Heather will be on this show next Monday. So be sure to keep your eyes open. It's going to be a lovely show. We are going to talk about gender and sexuality and neurodiversity. So you're definitely going to want to watch that one. Tamama is here. Hello, sweetie. How is everything? Especially the baking. I love Tamama's food pictures. CB is here. Hello, hello. Did I miss anybody? Oh, and there's Charlie in lurk mode. Hello, sweetie. Hello, hello. So I think I've gotten everybody. If I missed you, I apologize.
Maggie just posted a ghoul is Nikki.
Which Nikki? There's a couple. Sorry. But in the meantime, I also saw Maggie said, I grew up down there, and honestly, I found no difference from there and everywhere else I have lived or visited in the U.S. There is no safe space. I would agree. There's no blanketly safe place. It's just, community is as community does. I will say that here in South Mississippi, we've had a lesbian commune for 30 plus, maybe 40 years now. Because every couple of years, they invite me to their October bonfire. Clothing optional October bonfire, as they are sure to let me know every time. Okay. And if it were not the great panini, I would go right now because I'm definitely missing real humans. I mean, you all are real humans, but I used to have a lot more human interaction in general, but yeah. So Mississippi has this lovely, I don't know that I would say underground queer community, but a lovely just queer community that overall it goes pretty well and it's a lot of fun. So anyhow, so we've done the hellos, Zara. Yes. We've said hi to everybody in the chat.
Riley was doing well, but I still had to clean something up.
Oh.
On the pad, thank goodness. She's good.
Oh, okay. Well,
one of them she's good at, the other's not, and thankfully this is the one she was good at, so it was kind of quick.
Yeah. Excellent.
Heather's looking forward to next week.
Yes. Heather is going to be on our channel on this show on next Monday, for our conversation about neurodiversity and gender and sexuality. Because it turns out if you're neurodiverse, your gender and sexuality may be a bit different from neurotypicals. Yes, ma'am?
Can I be on that too?
Absolutely, Zara. You have an open door. Let me write you in now, though, so I don't forget, because I don't mean to forget anybody. But, ADHD is real.
Love Eva's. We're a species that thrives with support from our peers. The world ends for many every single day, and all that. Friends are important.
I absolutely agree.
Specifically, honest, reliable, non-toxic pals.
Yes.
We're a species that thrives on a supportive group, but we're also the only species that will go to war against other people.
Okay, no, that is something that.
Well, to the destructive level, because
no. A lot of them do. Don't listen to people who want to talk about human specialness and uniqueness. No, there's a lot of mammals. There's a lot of insects that will literally destroy their habitat.
I know there are groups that don't either interspecies and I know there's a lot of stuff, but it's like we have technology, we're
capable of a lot more.
We're capable of a lot worse, is what I meant.
But it's like, there's species that have ruined their own environment as just not liking another group that's their own species. Hey, Del.
Hi. Minorities not living in the South is a lie. Yeah. I mean, I know that's true. And like in New York, generally, if you weren't Black, you were generally okay. And then the panini happened. I'm talking about like in the time that I've been alive, because obviously in general, America hasn't been great to Asians. But like in the time that I've been alive and living in New York, generally it was okay to be me. And then all of a sudden it wasn't. But like I always knew that there was racism. It just was never like dangerous for me.
Right. And that was like
to be blatant.
That's what I was told. Like I grew up and as an adult have had many friends of Asian descent here in South Mississippi. We actually have in Mississippi quite a bit Cantonese communities, hence Canton, Mississippi, a real place. And it is spelled like Canton.
I never knew that it was related.
Oh, yeah.
It's next to the Pearl River.
We have a Pearl River.
Again, not a coincidence.
Okay, I'm just going to tell you, I'm awful at geography. So the fact that I knew that place existed is like A+ for me.
Well, it does have one of the largest, what do you call it? Where everyone goes to, it's like a giant garage sale, everyone combined up.
Oh, yes, the community yard sale. So, look, okay, twice
I was going to say yard sale, and then I was like, that sounds a lot bigger than what.
No. It literally, I think, like, they've measured it, and it usually every year, pre-Panini, it takes up, I think, like, up to 10 linear miles of table space all over Canton, Mississippi, and all the way out to the county in every direction on the roads, starting in the square, and it just spans out everywhere. It is amazing. So and it is, they do it
like different spokes or what?
Yeah, so you have, like, in a lot of southern towns specifically, you have a square, which is in the middle of town, and it is usually, not always in the shape of a square, but sometimes it is. And then you have, essentially, you've got streets that go out from there, like a hashtag, right? And they just keep going, though. They don't go for like a mile. These roads go all the way out to the county. So they are, 10, 20 miles long. And because Mississippi counties are not tiny, they're also not huge. Like Western counties are quite huge, Western America. But Mississippi counties are sort of like in the middle between.
Okay, when you say Western, you got to be more specific.
For West of the Mississippi.
Colorado, they have much larger counties.
Okay.
Geographically. And our counties are kind of mid-sized by my estimation compared to like New England. The counties are rather small.
Yeah.
Because essentially it's how long does it take to travel? That's how big a county you can have, because the county is where you do marriages and you do contracts and all your legal stuff. And so it's like, how far can people travel reasonably?
Right. And yeah, like, so it's been, I know.
Are they ever updated, or is that based on when everyone was like horse and carriage?
So Mississippi specifically has been in a lot of debates. They haven't updated since horse and carriage. And so there's 82 counties in Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
And they keep talking about reducing it down to 50.
There used to be over 100 counties in Mississippi.
Yeah.
And they have reduced it down to 82 with the advent of the beginning of cars. So, but so anyway, back to what I was saying, yes, if you get a chance to go to the Canton, Mississippi yard sale, or, twice a year, May and October, highly recommend. It's always worth it. So anyway.
For a lot of Cantonese people or Cantonese descent.
There is a lot of people who originally settled in Mississippi of Asian descent, but it's not just those of Cantonese descent. There's also quite a large Vietnamese community.
Makes sense.
Because many years ago, there were Vietnamese refugees who needed to go somewhere else other than Vietnam. And they were specifically what they were called the boat people. Like that was their grouping, their ethnic grouping. And 30 whole families moved here to Mississippi and essentially did a wonderful thing for Mississippi fishery industry, because they just continued the things that they were doing in Vietnam on boats here. And so we have wonderful seafood, fish. That's who we always look for to buy our fish fresh and our seafood and everything, because they are also very good at essentially keeping sustainable numbers for it. So again, like, they're just so skilled. They're wonderful. So I've had friends who are also of Vietnamese descent, and I've asked, like, do you experience a lot of racism? And every time I've asked this, I was told, I mean, there's always a little bit, sure, but it's nothing that's intolerable or that ruins your day for the most part. Like,
it kind of feels like swatting away a mosquito.
Right. And that's actually similar to how one person described it to me. And because I had just wondered, like, what do you experience? Because, like, what I experience is mostly the anti-Semitism. That was what I was, for the most part, experiencing. So I always was curious, like, what other people are experiencing prejudice-wise.
My family, first of all, a lot of them are older, and they grew up in New York, which is obviously a very Jewish area. But they've told me that almost all of them, and, when people are like, oh, stereotypically Jewish, I'm like, my family, my adopted family, like, doesn't really look like that. So I've had multiple members of my family with good intentions, trying to connect with me over the fact that I was afraid to go outside during the height of the panini, the first crest of the panini, just looking like myself, even with my face, half my face covered and my hair being purple, so clearly not like looking like Asian hair. They would be like, oh yeah, like I've had people find out I'm Jewish and then be like, oh, you don't look Jewish at all. And I'm like, I understand that anti-Semitism exists and has never really gone away. And that I'm sure that to my family, I've been like, I'm sure you experienced it too. But then like in my head, I'd be like, this is not the example that I think you could have shared right now. Yeah, normally it's like, like people who are like, oh, there's benign sexism and there's benign racism. Neither exists. It's like, it's racism or it's sexism. But they would normally be like, oh, you're the smart Asian, so like you should know this. Or and then there are stupid people who like will just start speaking Mandarin or Cantonese to me, and I'm like, I don't speak it. And there's a little interaction in Shadow and Bone, the Netflix version, where basically Shu is like Chinese or Japanese or whatever Asian enemy that you want to like say existed. They have an art piece that actually looks more Japanese, but the point is that there's a moment where the main character, who's half Shu, someone's speaking to her and it's like, oh, tell her this, and she's like, I don't actually speak Shu. Like, and I was like, yes,
yeah,
not back.
Mm-hmm.
So
Exactly.
it's like stupid stuff like that. It's never really being or in modern day, not necessarily until the panini, of course, that like we're subhuman, or like expected that like we're not going to make anything of ourselves. If anything, like we're always expected to be super high achieving and all these things. So it's, the effects of it are bad in that they've definitely like given me anxiety and like made me think that like my worth is tied to what I can accomplish, but it's not ever, it wasn't ever like, oh, I'm afraid to just be living.
Right.
Because the color of my skin or my appearance or whatever can make me a target for violence. Until recently.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
I mean, and that's the dangers of political rhetoric. Is it endangers people very easily.
Like if neo-Nazis were all endangered, I'd be fine with that. But every other group basically that gets endangered, I'm like, stop.
So Eva had, see you later, Heather. Eva had a question somewhere way back.
You want me to find it? Give me a moment.
Doll also had a question about whether or not we'd want to live in a commune with like our best friends.
Oh, yes. Someone had a question.
Here.
Yes. Question for the panel and audience. Have you ever?
I thought it was Doll for some reason.
Doll here.
I haven't said anything.
No, I know you didn't say anything, but I thought you had typed in the chat. But I think, you know what? I think Doll, you had entered the screen at the same time.
Yeah, I think it was that.
Went up on screen for the first time. So my brain just saw like this circle and the words at the same time. So it just Doll.
So, question, have you ever had daydreams about a commune, which is you and your closest? It seems a common topic over the last year, especially.
Gloria and I are leaders of thought. We've been working on this thought.
Let's let them talk first. You know, Doll, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm prepared to live with other people. I want to live alone. I have to heal before I can live with other people. That's all I can say.
I think I could live with my friends, but I don't know if I'd want it to be a commune because I tried living not in the city multiple times and it just wasn't for me. Like I need to be in an accessible place where I can just take, theoretically, because not right now, public transportation and walk anywhere I need to and things like that.
Yes, there's that. Doll, Maggie says, hello, Doll, my lovely alien.
Hi, Maggie. It's good to hear from you.
So, okay. So,
and Nikki did have one.
Okay. Nikki says, I for sure have commune daydreams, but with my chosen family, LOL. I've already lived in a very isolated area with my family, and 10 out of 10 do not recommend if you aren't friendly with your family, LMAO. Yes, I would agree.
Yeah, no, I'm only thinking of this like with people who I'd want around. Right. And even then, it's like I need to be connected to.
I mean, I will admit, like, I have lived in Mississippi the vast majority of my life. I've lived other places for a short time, and I was born in Michigan. But I am at heart, I enjoy the rural world. I love living relatively close to nature. It brings me quite a bit of joy. I'm not as concerned about, insects as long as they mostly stay outside. Even this summer when outside as our next door neighbor called it, a kaiju spider. It was quite large. And it had enormous webs. Since it was so big. But again, it stayed outside and I'm then okay with it existing. But I have for literally decades, so since I was a child, fantasized about having my own artist colony where my friends could come and stay for a short time or long time in their own little cottages and then join us in, the big community house whenever they want for meals and so on. But like essentially where we all could be creative and collaborate or not together or just be around each other and have a good time. That has been one of my fantasies since I was, I think, probably at least in middle school. So it continues to be. It's part, honestly, of my 10-year goals is to at least get that started by buying property here out in the county, in some county. Since we now can get broadband internet all the way out to all the counties now, or at least nearly all the counties. I know, like to be able to get fiber optic internet because that has been my real concern.
Because I wouldn't mind living remotely, like living in a place that is like full of nature, so long as I have internet so I can work remotely. Because like I don't want to be living in nature doing nothing. Exactly. I like being productive.
I don't want to be like Thoreau with Walden. Like, yes, he was productive in like all his meditation.
Lies.
Whatever.
But lies. Thoreau's such a liar. Women don't count.
You know what I know.
He literally meant no men. Not people.
Yeah, because like 3 women every week came to visit him and feed him and clean
on a daily basis.
Yeah. No, I know that, but my point is that like he wasn't able to like, he just wasn't able to do like as much productivity as like if he had been living in a more populated area. And I agree with Dahl. Like I would need something to occupy my time.
So yeah, that's been my fantasy is ideally we would love to have a pond or a lake to be a part of. Since I like to paddle boat. It just makes me happy. And Tom loves to fish. So,
I like kayaking, but also swimming.
Yeah. I don't know that you'd want to swim in the pond, but
I know that's why. But kayaking.
We can make
that's where the indoor pool comes in?
Yes. Because I can't do sun much, so it's like we could do an indoor pool. Because then
if you converted this whole idea into like an apartment complex, I would be there. But
yeah. So
I can't visit my cousins without bugs being around, and even then, I'm like, I love you, family. But
so here's the side effects of Gloria and I's travels over time and our ideas about this commune. It's insane, but you all want to come. Trust me. So yes, there is a big house which has communal spaces for people to visit, including its own arcade. That's part of a requirement, is there must be an arcade as well, with both video games and, classic physical games, including, what is it you love, Glory?
Which will end every friendship ever.
No, what's the game you have to play, Glory?
I have to play?
Well, I'm just saying, it's a requirement for any arcade as far as you're concerned.
Skee-ball.
Yes.
There's going to be skee-ball or we go home.
Skee-ball or pinball? I can't hear what you're saying.
Skee-ball with the wooden balls specifically.
Right. Yeah.
I don't care for the plastic balls as much. They're not good.
They're not as fun.
You know, like if there's not a danger of brain injury, then really, what is the point of skee ball?
And the kitchen is its own separate house because we need something we can do commercial kitchen stuff.
Yes, the kitchen is its own
Also,
building. Because also I need to be able to clean it and actually like sterilize walls situation, because up here I have learned my idea of cleanliness and other people's ideas or definitions of cleanliness apparently differ. So it's like, no, I need to be able to remove everything from the wall so I can just hose it all down.
And the part of the other reason why is so that everyone has their own little tiny cottages. Because even Gloria and I are like, we need our own separate space. But we don't want people opening doors in the middle of the night. It does mess with our paranoia. So everyone gets their own cottages with covered walkways to the kitchen, to the main house. Because one is if the weather's bad,
you're about to be murdered.
And well, you know, the part of the reason for this covered sidewalks is just living in the Philippines. Between the bad weather and the monkey-eating eagles / babies, it was crazy. Okay, just don't take away the largest bird predator, local bird predators' food sources, and then go, but why are they looking at us so tastily now? They're hungry. But yeah, like, it's a different kind of, no, we don't want, everyone needs their own living space. We all need our own temperature. We all have our own opinions about what's a living temperature.
Oh, God, yes, we do.
I need tundra cold weather all year round.
So, needless to say, that's been my research for the last 20 years is, AC and heating and electricity and internet. How do we get them? What's the most economical way?
And also how to easily sterilize. Hence our research into UVC light is an easy way to sterilize. Way before anybody was talking about how it could kill Panini virus. We've been searching because I want to actually make cheeses. And so in order to make good cheese, you have to actually be able to sterilize the walls and the ceiling.
I heard you say you wanted to make Cheez-Its, and I'm like, why Cheez-Its? I thought you meant like the... I
can make Cheez-Its as well. You haven't lived till you've had Southern cheese straws. I'm just saying. Tamama says, when I was a teenager, me and my friends were all dreaming about living in a treehouse community with a common treehouse to chill in. Nowadays, I wouldn't mind if I had alone time. Yes. There is, not that far from where we live here, like it's the next county over, somebody's made a treehouse system out of various other sort of found housing units.
That reminds me of Avatar: The Last Airbender, Jet's crew.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Maggie gets it about, yes, I wish to pressure wash the kitchen, be able to remove like all the counters and the appliances, so have them all on wheels. So I can literally move them as I need to then pressure wash behind easily and pressure wash floor and ceiling anytime. Because I have apparently like a special version of eyesight where I am very accurately able to tell you by walking in a room whether there are living single cell organisms on counters.
Oh God.
And I like,
that's a scary power.
It's it makes it unpleasant when trying to use public restrooms, I'll just say.
Oh yeah.
By the way, Maggie, I have just sent you a picture of the kaiju spider and its mate.
Well,
that my neighbor took.
What type of walls would they be so that it could withstand all this power washing?
Well, go on. You talk, Tom.
I'd say it's the same material as brick, but it's done as tiling. That you'll see actually in a lot of kitchens.
Made for places where you need to be able to sterilize it. So it is hydrophilic. It actually is in its own way inherently antimicrobial. And it is resistant to extremes of hot and cold. Yes, hydrophobic. You're right. Not hydrophilic. Sorry. I will drink more coffee now. Yes, Barrett, like a retreat, only, you could stay there all the time if you want.
But that's why everyone has their own house.
You have your own tiny home. You come visit, or you can stay longer. I don't care.
Because we all need our spaces, and especially as an artist retreat, when creatives are in creative mode, they tend to need alone time a lot more.
Well, actually, what I was planning instead is like, yes, if people wanted to, they could pay rent. But I was hoping to be able to do fundraising to simply pay for housing and other such single costs. Like building a tiny house, there's a one-time cost, but it doesn't. Maintenance is a different part of the ledger.
It's different than renting, yeah.
Right. So that was actually how I was planning on financing it beyond my own works. But yeah, 10 acres of land here in Mississippi is very affordable compared with elsewhere. And so again, like just all the costs are less here.
I like the idea, except that blind me needs a car. Yeah.
I just meant like the people staying, like they wouldn't be staying for free, because then how could the place sustain itself?
Well,
so we actually have
been doing a lot of research about essentially how to cut the cost of outside, like for instance, electricity. There are, ways to generate electricity and store it. Yes. So again, like where there's just
every single cottage
operating cost.
That would be so cool. It would look like a solar farm, but
yes,
better.
Exactly. And so again, like we would have minimal operating costs. So really the question of rent is not much of a question as much as, okay, so once we realize this is how much it is operating costs, this is what we all need to raise, whether it's through anthologies where we raise it to pay for the artist colony bills or whatever we do, we as a group would figure out what we want to do, or for those who just are coming in sometimes, how they want to contribute to essentially our artist colony economy. Ideally, I'd want the operating costs to be low enough where we could honestly just front the money and it not be an issue.
Because overall the actual costs are not as high as you think. And really we're also looking at, twice a year at least renting it out as a
camp.
What do you call it? Yeah, as a camp. And just having, 2 or 3 places that are just bunk spaces.
Yeah.
Because also, we want a place for people who are neurodivergent as well, of to escape where they feel a little bit more normal and not as ostracized.
So yes, that is our dream. That is our goal. And, we'll see if we achieve it. Also, we just want to be able to offer a safe space to be creative for people, that's regardless of their background and their financial resources. Having that barrier to entry is a real bummer.
Yes.
There have been plenty of times where I wanted to be able to just get a weekend or a week away at a cabin just to go write. I just needed a little time to myself. But I financially could not handle both taking time off from work and also paying for even the most inexpensive cottage I could find, because I knew, like, for me, just being able to go take walks around the woods is helpful to my creative experience. And I wish to be able to offer that to others because, again, financial gatekeeping is a real bummer. So, at the very least, we want to be able to offer short-term scholarships to others who are like, hey, I just would love to come for a weekend or a week. And, we'll just put them at one of the far tiny houses and they can just do whatever their creative thing is.
This kind of goes back to the other thing. Like, I don't know how safe I'd feel before I got to your area. Like, Kelly, she really wants me to visit, obviously, once it's safe again. And I'm like, gonna be real. What you've told me about your neighborhood, not sure it's ever gonna be safe for me to visit.
Mm-hmm.
But once I got to her place or got to your community or whatever, I feel like, I'd have a great time. But it's like like not the flying there or whatever, or road trip or whatever that I would need to get to the proper state, but then
you mean like getting from the airport to our colony? Yes.
Yeah.
I figured we would just have a minivan to go pick people up from the airports.
Okay, I like that.
I mean, it's the same way.
You know.
Okay, so here's a little secret people don't talk about. Since no one wants to come to Mississippi, other people have figured this one out. So yes, there are, as Gory said, there's a lesbian commune. There's at least 2 active nudist colonies in South Mississippi.
It's in South Mississippi alone, so not including North Mississippi or the Delta.
The only reason why my thought, even like if I ever wanted to go to the States, that I stick with New York is called public transport.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I'm blind. No car.
Yeah. And again, that's why, we were having to figure out, like, no, if people are coming to, this retreat, you have to support all of them too.
Yeah.
That's
so. I mean, we were already planning to have extra vehicles for people, and you might be surprised how much there are people who like to drive, and there are people who like to ride. And you might be surprised how many people, like, for instance, I love to just drive around, and so does Tom. He loves to just drive. And so there are people who happily will just drive other people around, just like, yeah, I got 4 hours I can give you. Where do you want me to drive you?
That's a great insight, because I just don't.
Yeah, and that's I don't like it's no big deal. Of like,
I don't
organize
like
a shopping trip.
Right, exactly. Because I don't like to feel like I want to be I'm the burden. Like, oh, again, she needs to. Can someone take the blind chick somewhere, please? Can someone just write her there? Thank you.
Versus, we're gonna have we're having a shopping trip 3 times a week. If you have any interest in which particular stores you want to be sure to visit, let us know, and we'll organize the shopping trip. Around that.
That sounds great. That sounds more accessible.
We were also. We were also inspired though by when we were growing up. One of my friends, his mother was Filipino. His dad was Air Force, almost obviously. Let's go with stereotypes.
Yeah.
But was it every 2 months, or was it every month? She and all of her friends would organize these shopping trips. Since we were in North Mississippi, they go to Memphis, Tennessee.
Yes.
And where they would actually get the stores to open up early just for them for an hour early.
So they would have private shopping in these stores. It was not open to the public. It was open just to, Lorenzo's mom and all her cousins and friends, which I got to go on once. One time I had enough money because they were like, look, you need at least $100 to go on our shopping trip for the day. And I'm like, okay. So I saved up all my babysitting money. I was a teenager. And I got to go with her, and she's like, look, you're young and you don't have much money, so that means we won't charge you for the gas. You're part of, the bill, as long as you just agree to lug our stuff for us back to the minivan. And I'm like, no problem, I can do that. And it was awesome. It was so fantastic. They filled the back of that minivan to the point that it was like Tetris, trying to fit all their stuff in there. By the end of the day, they shopped so hard, y'all.
They did.
But yeah, and like they had a lunch stop and everything. But yeah, they had it organized. So they got to go to stores. They even found a store for me, since they knew like I couldn't do most of the clothing shopping because these are mostly tiny little Asian ladies. And I was never tiny. Ever. Especially if you go my shoulder width.
Even as a baby, you were off the charts.
Right? Yeah. Like, they had to use forceps because of these shoulders. Okay, when I was
larger than life glory.
Yes, quite literally.
Yes. So yeah, they use forceps.
I don't see that as a bad thing.
Yeah, it's just what it is. So they found another store that carried larger sizes, and they arranged for them to essentially have a private store opening for us. And it was pretty much just me, trying on stuff for all of the ladies to go, oh, can you get something in blue for her? Let's see you in blue, Gloria. And like essentially my own little showing off what I was wearing for them all to decide what I should get. I did get some pretty dresses out of it. It was nice. And some nice.
But again, like that's kind of what we're, to keep bringing it all back. That's what we're talking about of, what makes good friendships.
Community.
We're community and working together and figuring out how to work it all together. no one ever wants to feel like a burden.
Right.
So how do you make sure no one feels like a burden? And we work all this stuff out ahead of time. There's lots of ways to do it, but it is something you have to think about.
But also acknowledging people's individuality.
Mm-hmm.
If you're all like trying to do groupthink all the time, someone's going to
it's also very hard to create art when you're always in a group with other people. Like, I think most creative works require some amount of alone time.
Yes,
just for thinking.
Exactly. I would say when I'm with people, when I'm socializing, there's no creation. I don't create I create in isolation because I have time to just listen to my own thoughts instead of picking up on what everybody else is saying. So I would be one of those like, is Doll still alive? She there?
But that's there. Also why, like, one of the things we planned on was Gloria and I also like cooking. We are those type of people like cooking, just like Maggie. And so to us, cooking for 10 instead of 4 is not really a big deal.
I really prefer to cook in large quantities versus small quantities. It just doesn't feel right to be making tiny amounts of food versus I like to make food in pots. I like to make food in large.
And so to us, another positive about having those little rooms, those little houses for everyone to be in, is people can simply note, do you want, which meals do you want coming today, and do you want them to just be left at the door or not? Because we all get in our I don't want to see anyone for at least 24 or 48 hours.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
I heard about Spalding Gray. He's passed away, but he did this like kind of one-man play thing years ago. I saw it on PBS, and he talked about his time at some artist colony. I want to say like somewhere in Vermont. And he mentioned as part of this experience that every week they would leave a sheet on your door, and you would then, put it in your, they leave it in your little mailbox, and then you return it. You'd fill it out, which days you wanted food delivery for your, I think it was like lunch, breakfast and lunch was provided. And then dinner, you either came to the big house to eat, or you provided your own dinner, or it might've been lunch and dinner that was provided. So on. And whether you want it delivered or you wanted to come to the community house to eat. And he's like, you just mark it out and then you leave it in the mailbox for them. And every Sunday they'd come and collect your little survey of how you wanted your food that week. And I thought that is so wonderful, because there are times where it's like, yes, I don't want to have lunch with anybody. I'm going to be deep into my creative process, but I would love to come to dinner, because that is a great way to like signal to myself to break from, being in my head all day. It's so on. And I thought that would be wonderful for, my fantasy artist colony, where essentially if you're staying there, you fill out your little survey of how food. Do you want us to even provide food for you? Or do you want to provide your own, since every tiny house would have its own kitchenette? I
like that.
Because I like to prepare food even when I'm, vacationing. There's sometimes where I prefer to make my own meals.
I think just because I'd probably die, I would need to use my own. But I'm wondering if there could maybe be a third option where like people want the exercise to walk to like the kitchen building, but like can grab their food and go.
Right. There's that too. Yeah. Absolutely. I
think if it's you have to eat like in a group, or you have to eat like, or you don't have to move a muscle and the food will come to you. It's like we all just our leg muscles might atrophy.
Right. Or like even just label my food for, the kitchen, and I will pick it up and I will eat it there after everybody's left. I just want to be able to eat in another room that's not my tiny house.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, definitely seems like a very reasonable option to me for people that I'll walk over and I will eat, and I may be there on time and I may not, but I know where the food is.
Yeah.
So that's the fantasy. And that I am really actually, like Tom knows, I have, there's 5-year plans, and this part of my 10-year plan of at least to get this fantasy started. Because what is the point of my life if I'm not going to live out all my childhood dreams, y'all? And I hope that for everyone else too. I hope you all get to live out all your childhood dreams, because it's pretty awesome. Oh, Zara's in the chat. Cough, cough, Kofi.
I had to.
Thank you. Thank you very much. But yes, of course, if you are hearing about it, then you are invited to come join us on this project. Because I just wish there to be more creative people in this world. It doesn't mean you have to produce. It just means you're wanting to think in a creative form.
Like, I really want to go on the Wander Writers Retreat that Jesse Elliott organizes. And there are some other author tubers who are like, oh, we should all do something. And I want to do that. It's like the pandemic has made me want to connect in person with other writers. And I feel like if it were in a retreat type of setting, even if yours is like a more permanent situation, if people want it to be, I just want something.
Yeah, my only fear is to not feel welcome even where I'm supposed to be welcome. Yeah, my fear is like never fitting in anywhere at all, because this has happened so many times in so many places that I'm like, just accept it. You're better off alone. It's just like you just don't belong anywhere.
And that's part of why, like, Gloria and I are thinking about doing this. Is we know this is what we enjoy doing, is helping make sure people connect. Like, that was why Charlie told us about 3 episodes of The Marvelous Miss Maisel. They're like, okay, we'll go watch these, because we're like, yeah, the series is okay to us. It wasn't amazing.
It reminds me too much of my now ex-husband, and I'm like, I do not seem to want to see him get a happy ending. I'm just saying.
But there's these 3 episodes where they go summer in the Hamptons.
Catskills.
In the Catskills, I mean. And it's just like, go on. I want to keep watching this. How do you get divergent people to mingle? What are the stuff you do? And just, we love the whole idea of these, people are staying there for 2 months at a time. And so you have to keep up activities just for people to be able to regularly meet and communicate and get to know each other and understand each other. Because, it's very easy for people to get alienated. Because people have to see from clicks.
About not going to every event, so I'd have to work on that. Not that you guys would be making events to pressure people to go, but my brain would be like, oh my god, I'm not going.
Yeah, no, it would be more like, hey, if you want to come, we'd love to have you, but we just want you to know this is, happening. Hence the whole point, having the mailbox for every tiny house attached to the house. So when you want to, you can check the mailbox.
If people stay for a long period of time, can they paint their door the color they want it?
Because I would assume they could paint it.
I want to have a purple door, and that
purple door
live there. That
I assume
lives here, and I want a purple door.
I assume that there will be at least one house that the door will be painted with sunflowers, and just a little garden on the door.
I was like, why would she just paint it whatever you want to paint it? I mean.
And then, it goes back to default when you vacate. Or the next person can let you know in advance, and then, the person who's leaving can be the one responsible or something.
Or we just change outdoors. I mean, seriously.
Yeah. Are you going to have, a warehouse full of doors like Monsters, Inc.?
Yeah, probably. Because that was kind of what... It's so much easier to paint a door when you don't have to take your door down.
I can connect it to my brain.
And we just put your door in... after you paint it and it dries.
I mean, you've heard Gloria and I talk about, the what do you want to call it, of the white walls?
So growing up, every rental we only were in rentals. Our parents never owned their own home. My mother did not own her own home till after I was married, actually, in my 20s. So I never knew a lifestyle where we owned our own home, which meant we couldn't paint the walls. We couldn't even hang up most things most of the time. And people would talk about how they've gone to the white wall place, which was apparently they were implying a place for mental illness needs, like a hospital. That was how people would say it, but as a child, I did not pick up on the subtlety of what they were talking about, and I just thought they were...
That's what I was thinking, and then you started talking more, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, and so I just would look like, oh, we're in one of those places, because they were always white. But again, we weren't allowed to paint. We weren't even allowed to adjust the trim or paint a mural or anything.
Oh, wow.
And so I just figured if we've got all these tiny homes, that means people will want to, if they feel like, decorate it inside and out with paint. Here's the great thing about paint. You can always paint over it anytime you change your mind. You're like, I don't feel like this anymore. Let's
you
do
have a wreck-it room or whatever it's called.
A what?
A trash room where people go and you smash things. Can you like have that?
Yeah, like I used to have a driveway space where I would just throw juice glasses at the wall.
I like that Glory mentioned that there will be like a lake nearby, because that is like the idea that I've always had for my tiny house, is that it's close enough or next to a lake. Like you can see the lake from the window, that kind of stuff.
Also,
I always do well when I'm near a body of water.
It's also very useful for having a cooling system, because running conduits under the water is a great way to cool.
Mm-hmm.
So that's partly, nuclear to thermodynamics. So that was part of why, ideally, what we're looking for is something with a body of water, in part for this, as well.
Are you actually looking at maps right now, or are you still planning out logistics, and then you're going to look at locations?
We have been looking at properties like in South Mississippi specifically, as well as North Mississippi, because I'm open. Like, I don't mind anywhere in the state.
New Orleans, like, could there be like a day trip or something?
Oh, we assumed there would probably be.
Yeah, because New Orleans is where we spent our misspent youth was spent in New Orleans.
Well, I'm just thinking of the fact that you promised me you'd go to New Orleans with me one day.
So New Orleans, like the French Quarter, to get from where I live in this very moment out in the county to the French Quarter, specifically in Parked, is about a 2.5-hour drive one way. So it's definitely something that we would do easily overnight.
I'm happy to curate a playlist for the car ride. My mom says awesome at that.
So yeah, like, because it would be what, 10 o'clock at night, and be like, you know what I could go for? Tell me, like, what could you go for?
Beignets.
Beignets.
You know what I could go for at 10 and know that I'll arrive there at midnight? A tarot reading.
Yep.
Yeah, done that too.
Yeah, at midnight.
A bone reading.
Yes.
Don't do that anymore. They stop. They never show up again after that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, where I am to the Gulf Coast, directly down, is a 50-minute drive. Like, you can literally get to the beach from here in 50 minutes. So, for those who wish to boat in the Gulf, it's even closer. Yes, beignets all day, every day. They're so good, y'all. Café du Monde beignets, like in the French Quarter, which is the original one. Still so good. In the middle of the night, beignets, so good. And yes, they power wash their furniture as well there.
If you had a weed place, there just needs to be a way that it doesn't smell up the whole area. Mm-hmm. I get a contact high and a headache at the same time from any inhalable drug. I don't like it.
I understand.
Are they gluten-free? No. Do they have a gluten-free option at this point? I
know that they have gluten-free beignet mixes you can buy from Café du Monde. I don't know.
I don't know if they serve.
It's honestly been a few years since I've been down to the French Quarter Café du Monde. So I'm just not sure. I know during the recession they had to cut back on their menu, but I could see for a while they probably did have gluten-free. I don't know about right now, though. But on that note, maybe it might be time for us to get snacks. I'm just throwing that out there since we've been talking about beignets.
I was going to ask for a bio break. So
yeah, so
a break that
go for a bio.
Unfortunately, won't have beignets.
Maybe a snack, maybe a walk. At least get something to drink. Maybe if you don't already have something to drink, throwing that out there. And then we will meet y'all back here in approximately 10-ish minutes, where we will talk more about friendship. It'll be grand.
Hydrate or dihydrate, people.
Amen. Beep 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 beep.
You're so cute.
I know,
And we're
those
back.
little fat puppy butts. All right.
When Riley was born, the breeder named her J-Lo because her butt was so much bigger than the rest of her body. He's since grown into her butt.
She grew butt first. That was fantastic. So here we are in the second act. Has everybody had a wonderful time with our shared fantasy of an artist colony?
I did.
Yeah, me too.
Once you're like, oh, there's going to be like a shuttle service. I'm like, I'm in.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. I don't think that, especially like, okay, how do I explain this? When I am in creative mode, I am not necessarily thinking driving, but I know that there are plenty of people who are always like, oh, I'm ready to drive everyone around. Where do y'all want to go? You know, like they just enjoy this and they feel like this is a wonderful way to contribute to the group. And so it's like, yeah, I don't have to worry about driving either. It's great.
I just need a way to get there. And then if there's a day trip I want to go on,
right?
go. But other than that, like I'm happy just staying on the continent.
Look, y'all, I absolutely love being the cruise director. I am happy to I'm always the one who's happy to plan out everybody's trips. I love it. It makes me happy inside, and that includes day trips and any other kind of trip we want. And you know, as I was talking to Tom in the break, like Brene Brown said, it's about belonging, not fitting in. Fitting in is a superficial thing that people try to conform to some group's idea of what is acceptable, and it is not lasting, and it is exhausting. Belonging is, we just accept you for who you are exactly, and period. That's it. You belong with us. That's what belonging is.
It took me a long time to figure out exactly till I finally heard of, like, you know, why is it nice guys finish last? And that is because to be nice is to not offend. It is not actually a personality trait. It is simply a way of not doing anything extreme enough to cause anyone possibly to be offended by your actions. And that's not really being a friend. That's a superficial...
The new Queer Eye, when they were being interviewed, like before the first episode dropped, and they were all being interviewed, and they were talking about like the first show fought for tolerance, and like then, and the new show is like fighting for acceptance. And it's like one is just a lack of being
of aggression.
Yeah. And the other is like actual empathy, or at the very least sympathy, but also acceptance, and all these, you know.
Exactly. Hello, Grayson. Lovely to see you. So we thought we would talk about keeping Nikki company while she cooks. Excellent. We thought we would talk about what are red flags people have from their personal experiences about, hey, maybe this person is not the friend that maybe we thought they are or they were.
Oh, I have plenty. Oof. I have stories for days, but I don't want to drop names, so I'm not going to be sharing too many details. I'm not here for drama.
There's
what is it that everyone can learn
I'm
from?
not dropping any names, but I also got
plenty of stories.
I figured Tom and I could just sit back and that Sarah and Dahl would have plenty to contribute.
I mean,
we do.
No, I know you do, but like just in recent times, I've dealt with people who are like, I thought they were my friends, and then no, and like if you have noticed that I stopped making YouTube videos, and like sure I'm on Instagram, but I have like a wall that you cannot step up across because I'm like no, leave me, give me my space. It's for a reason. It's because even in recent times I have had to heal over some people that I thought were my friends, and it turns out they had other things in mind, and sometimes it's kind of hard to know. Some people are very good at hiding it very well. So it just, I mean, it's just when the passive aggressive commentary starts happening on a live stream or in a chat room, and like, and you get chatty because I'm chatty. People know that I'm a verbal communicator because hello, I'm blind. Sound is my main thing, and I tend to talk a lot despite being an introvert, because this is my way of communicating things. I cannot look you in the eyes and look into your soul and that kind of stuff. I can't.
I'm not blind, and I also can't really stand looking into people's eyes and seeing into their soul.
Yeah, no, but I mean,
know who you are without looking at you. A lot of the times it's ugly, and I don't want to see that.
I agree. It's just, I'm just getting over that kind of commentary as well. It's like, and someone putting on makeup, someone who knows me gives me a shout out in a video. It's putting makeup, by the way, getting pretty, and then turns to do their eyes. And it's like, oh yeah, because the eyes are the windows to the soul. And just 2 minutes ago, they gave me a shout out, supposedly. And I was like, oh, was that on purpose, or is it just a cliche, or is it just me, or is it am I making it up, or blah, 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 and my brain just goes off like, is this a red flag or isn't? Because it's one of the first. And at that point, they are still hiding it quite well. But as the time goes by, it just progresses on, and you're realizing that it's not just your imagination. But at the same time, those comments are so subtle that you don't even know what to do, because who's going to listen to you? And then they're just going to call you negative and paranoid. And, oh, you're just making excuses to see the bad in everybody because you're paranoid and you're so negative and blah, blah. Because once you open up that you have depression, oof. Sorry.
Go out and do things with people. Really? I didn't think of that.
Yeah. So
I remember how much flack we got when during the MCU stuff we were doing Guardians of the Galaxy.
Wow.
And we brought up that in the second Guardians of the Galaxy movie, if you ever have anyone who says any line, literally any line that Kurt Russell says in that movie, that should be your clue. That's a red flag. He literally does not say a single line in that movie that's not a red flag line.
My mom and I saw it on Father's Day, and we're like, what's the best way for a single mom and an only child daughter to celebrate Father's Day? Watch a movie with a really bad father in it.
Nice.
That's what we ended up with, and we're like, it works.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would, the comment, best friend trauma sucks.
Mm-hmm.
That's true, but in hindsight, none of them were ever best friends.
Yeah, they weren't real.
They weren't real friends. I guess, like, red flag is if they're willing to gossip to you about other people.
And also if they want to keep you exclusively to themselves.
Oh, yes.
Oh, my God. I had that. And then I was told, like, you have to be nice. Like, I was already nice, which is why the person globbed onto me. And then I was told by everyone that I couldn't set a boundary. And then by the time I was trying to set boundaries, it was too late. And then when we graduated middle school, because our middle school ended and we all had to apply to high school, it's kind of like a mini version of college applications, which, let me tell you, were more stressful than the college applications. Because I mostly was just like, please don't get into the same school as me. Please don't go to the same school as me. I hated all 35 other classmates of mine by the time after 11 years with them. But it was just like at the graduation party, we'd had like 8 years because some people had left. I was like one of the only few lifers, all 11 years left. But most people like had been there for 8 years and some people for less. And the person was like, I know you still want to be friends. Like, stop putting distance between us. And I was like, I don't want to be friends after this. Like, I haven't wanted to be the type of friend that you forced me to be since we were in 3rd grade. And we were in 8th. And I was like, and she like was so shocked and everyone's like, oh my God. And then people started bad mouthing me on Facebook. I don't know why I friended any of them on Facebook, but I was just kind of like, F all of you, because I know for a fact you've all been making fun of her behind her back, but mostly to her face, calling her fat and saying she had cooties when we were that young and that immature. And then saying she had other things like, where it's like, I'm a better person than all of you, but I finally stood up for myself. I wasn't mean to her. I said, I don't want this friendship to continue versus you're a horrible person or you don't respect boundaries, or all these things that I could have said. And like, so that I definitely agree with like someone who like wants you all to yourself. And then I'm not gonna go into my PTSD stuff because I don't want to trigger anyone. But if a friend doesn't have your back in a situation where a friend needs to, they're not a friend. And I have complex PTSD because of stuff, but then also the friend trauma, and then invalidation about the like quote unquote main trauma, or the quote unquote real trauma that like people acknowledge. Because if you say like, oh, middle school is traumatic, people are like, oh yeah, it was for everyone. I'm like, no, clinically diagnosably traumatic.
Exactly. Professional psychiatric diagnosis of complex PTSD coming from high school, like that level of professional diagnosis.
Elementary, middle school, I got messed up early.
Yeah, me too. Kindergarten.
That brings up like two big red flags that are easy to see, that are really hard to actually stay true to. And that is one, if someone does not like boundaries, that's a big red flag. People who actually want to just be friends, who want, you to be you and them to be them, and you just want to, maintain a friendship, they respect boundaries. And the other one is people who chronically invalidate your feelings. If like that's their first response whenever you mention your feelings, is that they then invalidate them of, oh no, that's not really it. Yeah, that's another really clear red flag.
That's a red flag. They're just being kind to you to look good themselves.
Really kind.
No, I mean,
nice.
They're being nice because it looks like, okay, I have to, this has nothing to do with no one that you know. Used to be a friend of mine, but I used to open up about many of my thoughts and feelings about writing, about some fantasy tropes that are very, very bothering, very, the usual things that I sometimes talk about and open up about. And, oh, that's not it. You're just being negative. Oh, you're just jealous because J.K. Rowling is like a billionaire, and like you're starting and you're just being jealous. And I'm like, no, I don't hate her and I'm not jealous. I'm happy she made it. It's okay. I just hate the story and the tropes because it's perpetuating something that is really taking to a deep personal level with me and something that happened to me. So it's like reviving my PTSD in a way. So I prefer not to read those things anymore. But that's not it. I mean, you're just being negative, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's a red flag. And this person was just being my friend and being nice to me because I was the blind minority foreigner I was the blind minority in a foreign country, and it looks good for her to be my friend.
I'm rolling my eyes at their behavior, doll, just so you know. I'm rolling my eyes hard at their behavior.
Yeah, well, but that they just want a token blind friend because it looks good, They are just being the random act of kindness, positivity person. The secret says that.
And that's and because we've known plenty of people like that, that's why Gloria and I specifically occasionally try to have more than one person of a particular grouping
background
on at the same time to show like, no, we're not interested in someone for their tokenism.
I love the line in Into the Woods where the witch is kind of like fed up. So there's basically, it's a bunch of fairy tales and they all come together, and there's the witch from Rapunzel, that story, but she's kind of interacting with a bunch of other ones too. Basically, things go well first half of the musical, then things go wrong second half of the musical, which is the reason why it was written, because that's what interested the people who wrote it. And when things go wrong, all the heroes blame the witch, and she finally gets fed up and she's like, I'm not good, I'm not nice, I'm just right. And it's like, being nice is not that's not what you should go for. Like, I mean, you shouldn't go for being a jerk either, but like just being nice to someone doesn't really help anyone, because it doesn't make you a better person, and it definitely doesn't help the person you're being nice to.
I would say if someone never wants to give their own opinions before you give your opinion, that's also another red flag of the...
What do you mean? Is it?
Yes.
Like, okay, give me example.
Okay, sometimes I do that because I'm just afraid of starting a fight.
Talk first, but I mean,
so okay, but here's the difference: is if someone asks you your opinion on something, if your first response is, "Well, what do you think about it?"
Oh,
you know, if they actually actively avoid being the first to state their opinion.
I'm like, it's ordering food, but I feel like everyone is like that when it comes to food in a group. I'm just gonna say that.
But
I'll just say like, this is what I want. This is what I want to eat.
Well,
like,
the thing is that normally what happens with my family friends is that we'll be like, we don't want this, but we don't know what we want. So we're like, well, what do you think? And then someone's like, well, let's just go through what we don't want, and then that's what we do. But
yeah, but I mean, but it's just like when you ask someone about, you know, the movie you just saw, if their first response is to then turn around and ask you, that's actually a red flag.
They're being kind of cagey about. They're trying more. They're more interested in matching your perspective than actually speaking their mind.
Oh, mimicry. Oh, yes. Okay, I got it. Gotcha. Yeah.
Because at some level, you do want to do it to like build rapport or whatever. But if you're only doing that, then you're not being yourself. And I did that too many times in high school, trying to fit in after how badly everything went in middle school. And then when I got to college and started making good friends, and then especially AuthorTube during the Panini, I've been like, oh, when I'm not hiding parts of myself and I'm completely authentic, I actually attract people who like are better friends because they know the different parts of me. So I don't have to keep myself in a certain box to stay their friend.
AuthorTube has been difficult. I'm just going to say that. I'm not going to go into details. AuthorTube was maybe not for me. And that's why I went into another platform to see if my people is in another place. It could be that I just write some other different genre. After all, I'm not writing YA fantasy, which is the predominant genre in AuthorTube. And I'm like, I feel lonely. Okay, I go somewhere else. Bye. So that was my case. But I was just hanging out with some people that maybe they...
Yeah, and it happens.
I mean, some people will have a different experience no matter what. Like my cousin, she had a great time in college, but she also like loved her time in high school. And I was like, okay. And then the same cousin was like, oh, middle school was fine, not traumatic at all. And then I have another cousin who, her sister actually hated middle school. High school was like, whatever. Like there was drama, but like it wasn't traumatic, but it also wasn't great. And then college was better. And then law school was even better. And then life since, you know, adult life outside of education has been better because, you know, once you're in your normal life, you start hopefully attracting people who are more like you in the ways that like I kind of just said, for it's like you can have friends that know you. So therefore you're with people who not necessarily are all exactly like you because that's boring and then that's not good, but you know, you belong.
But I mean, like, I've heard so many people talk about and lampoon and other things about, you know, the whole concept of dinner and a movie for dates. And it's obviously these people have missed the entire purpose of going to a movie or a play or something on a date. And it's, you need something neutral that neither of you is invested in, that you can both be yourself about. So you can better understand, is this person similar to me in ways we would want to continue a relationship? That's the whole point. But yeah, if people don't even want to say what they're doing, you know, what they really think about stuff that doesn't matter, like a movie, it's a big red flag that there's other stuff they really don't want to talk about that is important.
Yeah.
Because movies don't matter. Okay?
A movie is just a movie, and that's why I'm very vocal about like, hey, I didn't like that thing. It's just a trope that I detest, and I hate when that happens. And I'm saying it out loud. I don't care. It's just my opinion on some fiction stuff.
Exactly.
I mean, if someone loves something really problematic, that's also a sign.
Yeah,
well, sure. And don't see that it's problematic. because everyone has a guilty pleasure. But, I agree. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter what someone thinks of something fictional.
Look at Glory using the new tools.
Huh?
Did you see what popped up
in the chat?
I just want to say that YA isn't a genre. So I love your poll, but I take issue with your poll.
Oh, this is the person actually in college for this.
So,
grad school.
Libraries and bookstores consider it a genre, at least right now. So I'm going to go with that, at least in the Deep South. I'm just going to say.
Okay, up
as
north,
said, I actually agree with you. I totally agree with you.
We have a YA section, but it's broken up by genre.
They don't break it up by genre at the libraries and the bookstores in the Deep South so far in the last 10 years. So as
Sarah agrees with me.
I agree with you, Sarah. But
no, I know you agree with me because you're not crazy.
No, I'm a librarian and I'm good at it. But like as far as how like it functions, it's like it's a genre for now. One day everyone will come back to their senses. But in the meantime,
like at the start of it was a genre because it was mostly young adult contemporary, and then it was all like young adult fantasy, and then it was all young adult dystopian, and now it's all young adult fantasy again. And it's just like, and then with young adult contemporary going parallel to it for a while, and with spikes and dips or whatever. I'm just like, the fact that you can all say that Harry Potter which isn't YA, but like people think it is. So like the fact that you can understand that Harry Potter is different than the Hunger Games means that YA isn't a genre.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. As I said, I 1000% agree. It's just, it's not marketed that way either at this point still. And I think it's silly.
It is marketed as if it was a genre.
I know. I hate it so much. It's an age category too.
It's so
hey, look, because
it's not even just a category, because to me category is like nonfiction versus fiction, or maybe cookbook versus biography, which is both under nonfiction. But
yes. Also, just so y'all know, it only gave me 4 options in the poll. YouTube would only let me have 4 options, so I didn't get to list all the other genres I wanted to, and I'm so sorry about that, but we can do another poll in a minute after y'all finish polling.
HP is fantasy, but what I was saying is that it's not technically YA, but I was just saying that, people assume because so many people, like by the end of it, it kind of feels YA. So
because of how this...
of how the
evolves.
characters
because it kind of grew with the characters.
Yeah. So people are like, oh, it's YA. I'm like, well, not really. But if you're going to use that as your example and use another very popular series that is clearly not in the same genre, that means that the thing binding them together is not a genre.
So, anyway. I just noticed
rectangles. I could go on about this
right before we went live that YouTube had given me a poll option in chat, and so it was like, we will do a poll today for sure, because I don't know how long YouTube will leave this option for me.
I didn't see it. So I'm only on
StreamYard. You have
not in StreamYard.
Okay. I'm not on YouTube because my laptop is just oldie and I'm just
Doll, it won't let me vote either, so it won't let me, the poll maker, vote.
I think on Twitch you can vote for your own poll.
Yeah, it let me vote once on Twitch, but it won't let me vote in YouTube at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, as I said,
Harry Potter's 8-ish at the beginning of this. Do you mean that
he's 11? He's 11.
Well, he's turning 11. But do you mean like for reading?
Oh, yeah. Reading is 7 and up is middle grade.
Yeah.
Is age 7 and up is middle grade, and that's how the first Harry Potter book was written, as for ages 7 to 12.
The thing is that if you call age categories, and I've had this discussion with my mom and other people who I know who are in publishing but are a little bit love them, but a little bit more out of touch than
Hi, Everett.
I've explained to them that people normally do age categories based on the character's age, but it also depends on the theme. And then you have to think of themes appropriate for the audience, but audiences like to read up. So like an 8-year-old doesn't necessarily want to read about an 8-year-old.
No.
No.
And 8-year-olds absolutely do not want to read about 6-year-olds. They're offended.
Oh yeah, no, they don't want to ever read down, and they sometimes, most of the time, don't want to read their own age. They want to read older so that they can imagine that when they reach that age, this adventure could happen to them.
Yes, and even what is it? New adult is readers are still like that. So a new adult, you're going to have college age characters, and it's going to be read by often high school age or freshman college readers.
Yeah,
but you're not going to have grad students reading about a 20-year-old. They do not like that.
I mean, I'm a 20-year-old and a grad student, so I am technically still reading it, but that I'm unusual that way. But
and you're also in industry, so I think that makes you a little bit different.
I'll read whatever it is, no matter the age category, if it's good, because probably because I want to work in the industry. But it's
I read
about age categories.
I read whatever I have access to, so that's how I ended up reading Harry Potter, because everybody was fussing about it, and I was like, "Hey, I found it. Let's read it." And okay,
so I'll go ahead and end the poll. I think that we've had we've had 6 minutes, so there we go. And 82% genre hoppers like to write genres.
Me, I'm a genre hopper.
I am too. I mean, I've written 2 romance trilogies, but they're in different subgenres, different age categories too. I'm now writing, I don't know, I guess new adult, contemporary-ish dystopian. And I would only say new adult because of some of the establishing adult life, not because of the level of sexiness that is normally associated with new adult. And then I'm writing a new adult spy thriller that has nothing really sexy either. It's just I know in my gut that it's a new adult, but I have stories planned for adult and
absolutely
some for explicit, but that's going to be under a pen name.
I like exploring many things. I've done that sci-fi thing that people know I'm talking about all the time, but besides the sci-fi, there's a thriller noir short story, there's a romance short story, there's another sci-fi short story, there's I don't even know the genre of that thing short story, there's a creative nonfiction short story, and now I'm writing a nonfiction book for Instagram, about Instagram for authors. I mean, seriously, Dal, stay in one thing, please. No, I just can't.
Welcome to being a creative. That's what Glory and everyone was joking about Saturday of I'm leaving, what was it? All those the clickbait. I'm leaving AuthorTube. I'm going to CreatorTube.
And what the heck? And what the heck is CreatorTube? Isn't everybody a creator tuber?
It was mostly
called YouTube.
It was mostly people being like, "I'm moving to CreatorTube," and then what that translated to was, "I'm now going to start talking about knitting and crocheting also on my channel." And I'm like, I mean, you were a creator before people knew that, but okay.
I'm not even going to get in this.
Hi, Megan. Megan made it. So red flags. What else we got? What are red flags when trying to differentiate between people who are worth investing in as good friends?
People who only take. So you
have examples?
Social time, if you're the one who's always being we should get together, and they never are the one to try and initiate a plan. If they never offer to pay for anything, even if it's not balance, if they never offer at all, that shows that they're greedy and probably ungrateful and selfish.
Off the air, we were just talking about that of Doll talking about not wanting to be a burden of real friends don't want, how'd you put it? Something versus belonging.
The fitting in versus belonging.
Yeah.
So with fitting in, you can only present part of yourself because you need to fit in. But when you belong, so the thing about me is my brother and sister, for all of our entire family's many faults, and we all have many, but my brother and sister always made me feel like I belonged. It was no question, no matter how much of a horse's behind I have been, and trust me, y'all, I can be a real jerk, especially.
I mean, we all have our days
before
where
I got
on
hormone therapy. Okay, let me tell you, estrogen has done wonders for my attitude. But they always were like, you may be a jerk, Glory, but you belong to us. Like, oh, okay. And then when I had Cassie, my adorable, precocious mini dachshund, she very much was like, you belong to me. How dare other dogs be around you? You know that you belong to me. And I really felt that. Like, I felt like, oh, it means that when I belong with someone else or belong with a group of people, they take me as I am. I don't need to conform or change who I am or only present a certain facet of me. It's me, warts and all. They will still say, you belong with us.
Yeah.
Now get your butt over here and, be a jerk over here because you belong with us. Not that I'm like trying to be a real jerk or saying that other people are jerks, but just, sometimes y'all know I can be kind of salty.
I have another red flag for us women and queer people, and but it's a red flag that I need to share because it's important. Maybe I'm just a socially inept and I didn't pay attention to it, and then I learned. But when you have a male friend that you introduce him to other male friends of yours in the community because, hey, boys and boys, let them talk, have fun, enjoy, guys, after all, you're a woman. And you notice that he ignores all of them. But he keeps talking to all the women that he has a liking, like a type that he talks to, yourself included, but he ignores other guys. And that's a red flag. Stay away from that.
Yes, the classic just fishing around.
Yeah, I am ace, and also, I don't pick up on those things. So, whoopsie, I didn't see it until like 6 months after.
Right.
Ouch.
I've had many people, both men and women, and even non-binary folks, that I thought were just friends with me, but it turned out they wanted more, and I just wasn't picking up on their cues, if any, that there were. And yet they considered me their girlfriend, which was like wild to me in retrospective. Like, we were dating? I thought that we were just friends.
Yeah.
And then once I had made it clear, like, I don't see that person in that way because I'm who I am, and I'm just not necessarily attracted to just any old person who comes by who shows an interest in me. They drop me like a hot potato.
Right.
I just rolled my eyes.
Once they find one that is actually interested.
So pretty much nowadays, and I'm not saying like, oh, this is what everyone should. I'm just saying like, this is what I do. And this is what I do is anytime essentially the subject of sexuality comes up. So I find usually within the first few months of any new relationship that I think is a friendship, somehow the subject of sexuality will come up. And so I have come to assume it's because they're fishing to find out what is mine. And so I let them know my sexuality, but also I let them know that I don't see them that way. And I hope that they understand that I'm just wanting to be their friend. I appreciate them and value them for their friendship. And then I wait to see what happens.
Yeah. That's another reason why I decide to say I'm asexual and openly asexual. The whole internet knows that Dal Cecil Bruno is an ace writer.
For me, that's also because I am demi-romantic. So I'm not going to feel romantic about people that I don't have a solid relationship, a friendship.
Demi-romantic and demisexual.
Right? And so it's just like, if we can't be friends, then I'm definitely not going to feel anything more anyway. So it's just what's required with me. So that is why I say that. And I feel that works out pretty well for me, at least at this point in my life. But it has been amazing. The people who within a week will drop me like a hot potato. I'm like, another one bites the dust. All right.
Don't say that. I'm going to start picturing the Lucifer scene where they did it.
I don't even know which scene you're talking about.
I haven't gotten her to watch that one yet. I'll get her to watch that one tonight.
I haven't watched that. All right.
Okay, anyway, but Maggie said, red flag those who give enough or are only nice enough to make you let their mean behavior slide. I don't let anyone's mean behavior slide or immature behavior slide. Like, even if
I feel like that one goes
drive some people crazy, and they're like, "Oh, but like you should love them," and I'm like, I can love someone and acknowledge
love them without
behavior is like not okay.
Yeah, like call people on their crap, like.
I would say that to me is like the classic saying something mean and then doing the JK, just kidding.
Yeah, just kidding.
Of when they realize it's not okay, to you.
Yeah.
If they do this a lot, it's no, that's what they're really thinking. They're just trying to see if they can get away with it.
I saw online that someone said, I don't remember who it was, because I think it was like reposted a million times as a meme, but someone had said that like, oh, the next time someone makes like a sexist or a racist or something joke, be like, why is that funny? And force them to explain. And it makes them uncomfortable. And I'm like,
yes. But yeah, like it has surprised me how many people I thought were friends, but it turned out they had a sexual interest in me that was definitely not reciprocated.
I had guy friends who I never saw. Well, okay, there were guys who I absolutely hate in middle school, but I was like, I'm never gonna see anything romantic because you're friends with the assholes. And then in high school, there were a few guys who I became friends with who I was like, oh, maybe, but they didn't see me that way. And I was like, okay. And then I just kind of in college didn't really, whatever.
I would say I've lost so many friends. It's the same reason of, who are female and it's like, we can, if, they weren't seeing anyone at the time, like, but if you still want someone to do activities with and everything, that's cool. But I don't see you that way. So just know I probably is not going to evolve into anything more. And then
also, like our father said, never sleep with anyone who you wouldn't be willing to raise a child with, male or female or other, like just period. Like just as a standard of sexuality. If you're not willing to raise a child with them, don't even bother sleeping with them. It's not worth going into all of that.
I mean, that's cool, but as someone who doesn't want children at all,
but I mean, like, think about like whether like it being with anyone's child, like.
Here's what you can get, Sarah. If you wouldn't be business partners with them,
annoying person who is like doing it to the letter because I grew up in a family of.
Sarah, how about someone you wouldn't want to raise a dog with?
Yeah. I
think maybe you could find that relatable. Maybe.
Oh, 100%. I'm nodding, and yes.
Right.
Yes.
So yeah, don't sleep. That was Dad's advice. Don't sleep with anyone you're not willing to raise a child or a dog or a cat with. Because if you're not willing to do that, they're not worth all
a baby of any species
that will come with sleeping with them. And so like again,
for creative people, don't try to write a book together with someone who is just a taker.
If you aren't willing to write a book with them, then don't sleep with them, or even like consider them romantically,
or just keep your boundaries in general with that person.
But there are a lot of people who I don't know that I'd ever like want to write a book with, and I'm like, I think I could be in a relationship.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
To me, my creativity is like very personalized. It's like when I have a plan, like if I deviate from it, okay, but like I don't want someone else to be the one
deviating you from it.
Deviate. Yeah. I mean, the podcast with Kelly, I'm very excited because we're both very much on the same wavelength. And it's normally like one of us is like, oh, did you think of this? And we're like, no, we should add that. If we ever disagree, it's normally like, oh, we thought of a better way.
Maybe that's what I was trying to refer to and didn't get to that point. It's like someone who is in the same wavelength with you.
Yeah.
If it's not, don't even bother.
Who lined up with me, but it's like no one's ever going to meet the bar that like, oh, I'd co-write a book with you. So if I said that, be forever alone in a way that I don't want to be. Like
I can't say anything.
Have alone time if I want it. I want it to be available, but I don't want to be forever alone.
Okay, so like, let's see. I'm co-writing at least 2 books with Tom, and I am co-writing an opera with Everett, and I may be collaborating with Charlie about a song / an entire album. So yeah, I am definitely one of those.
I love collaborations. That's why I thought about it, because I love collaborations.
Yeah, I enjoy.
I've tried a few, and some are working and some didn't.
Yeah.
So that's why that came to my mind. It's like those
I think it's
that
totally
didn't.
thing.
Yeah, I think Stevie actually has a good analogy as well to use here about cooking. Of if you don't like the wine to begin with, don't put it in a dish if you wouldn't drink it.
Right. That's
most
a good
wines
one.
do not improve. Like they're not going to bring a lot to the party.
If anything, what you don't like about the wine will elevate itself.
Yeah,
I would agree.
You'll notice it even more.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was essentially my father's advice. Was like you need to instead of just having some superficial standards. Look, when he gave me this advice, I was 14. Yeah, no, I was 14. So and he was like, I'm sure it's going to be years before you're sexually active. Did not enlighten him about all the kissing sleepovers I had already been a part of. Thankfully, he did not ask. But he's like, this may help you make sure that the kind of people that you give your heart to are the people worthy of you giving your heart to. Because that's what he was concerned about. Again, like this kind of trauma thing that we're talking about in the chat about kind of best friendship trauma or friendship trauma of like many fathers, he was concerned.
Friendship in quotes trauma.
Yeah, friendship trauma caused by people we think are friends but turn out not to be. Of trying to help me with, figuring out a way to differentiate people worth the time and who are not worth the investment. Not to say that I necessarily made great choices even after that, but over the decades, it has helped.
Yes.
As I've made many mistakes. Anyway, I just made more.
There will always, I mean, don't blame yourself. Don't blame yourself. There will always be a mistake. There will always be something that happens. There will always be someone who's better at tricking people into their ways.
Yes.
It happens, but
Sure.
it does help to know how to prepare yourself, how to protect yourself.
It's true. Absolutely.
Eva said sex is okay without having to even like someone. I mean, for a lot of people, yes, but like
everybody here on this panel is rather
demisexual. It's
right. We're all under the ace flag between demi-romantics and demisexuals and ace and everything. I just want to point out everyone on this panel, which by the way is about friendship and next week is about sexuality.
Yeah,
but everyone on this panel is under the ace flag.
Yeah, and sexuality is different than romantic attraction. I just happen to be demi on both.
Right? Yes, whereas I just happen to be demi in romanticism rather than just regular old pansexual. But nevertheless, it is true. Yes, it has fascinated me about regular people and just
how hot to trot they are.
Rid of the hot to trot regular people.
What?
I don't like that. Like regular people.
What would you prefer? Like, how do you explain everyone who's not under the ace flag?
Average humans.
Non-ace individuals.
Ace? Would you prefer
average humans?
So
non-ace individuals.
Non-ace individual. All right, then we'll call everybody
because that's inclusive to people who are still in the LGBTQ.
Right. So yeah, exactly. Like that's what I'm saying. Like not just hetero, but there's also everyone else under the LGBTQ rainbow flag of like, where do I? So ace is the default, and all the non-default people.
Yeah.
And hell, there's just going to be so many trot.
This is maybe the first time I'm in a panel where basically everybody understands aceness.
Yes.
You know, like
yeah.
People are like normal, and I'm like, F that.
Y'all, like as someone who's pansexual but demi-romantic, the amount of grief I've gotten in my life about being demi-romantic. And it's like, look, your romantic gestures are BS to me until later in this relationship, and then you actually have to up your game. And that's just how I am. I'm like,
she has said that to people. She has point blank said that one.
Yes, like I've literally this is what is required. So
allo people, that's what. Yes, that I couldn't remember the term.
Yeah, that's the term, allo.
Thank you.
Allosexuals.
Yes, Tamama is here for us.
But not like, allo, which is soothing. They can be very grating, in fact.
Yes.
I did, changing back to red flags. CB kind of reminded me. All this, it's a sort of actually part of one we talked about, but like friends who infantilize you. That's again people who are not respecting boundaries and have definitely I don't know what the word is. It's not actually stereotyping, but it's akin to stereotype because they've put you into a specific box and that's the only way they see you. And again, that does not make a good friendship.
Stereotyping, but I know that that's like not the official term. But
I know this is gonna sound. I know this is gonna sound super crazy. I understand, but I had the other experience where someone who didn't respect my boundaries had a strange kink where they wanted me to treat them like a child, like a pet, like that they were my belonging, like. They wanted me to be the owner, the mother figure. I was like, what the get the out of my life, please.
Well, let's not
Lori knows that one.
But if you were uncomfortable with it and they kept pushing it, then
they kept pushing.
Okay.
Yeah. They kept. I mean, it's a she. It nothing to do with AuthorTube. Nobody knows her, but
I mean, but they are not respecting boundaries.
My female
trying
stalker?
to turn you into what they want instead of recognizing you for who you are as an individual.
Yeah.
You know, it's like what it's actually what people get upset about right now, and the big arguments in media right now about. I mean, really going back to an old one about female characters in stories and media. Are they their own character, or are they simply a prop? As a means to an end to get the male characters to do something.
Okay, so one of my favorite YouTube channels, the Pink Popcast, they react to a lot of things. They reacted to Bridgerton, they reacted to 50 Shades of Grey, they reacted to Twilight, all hilarious. Very non-PG channel, just so you know. But they react to episodes one at a time. They don't react to a whole season at once. So they reacted to one of the most recent. They reacted to episode 7 of Shadow and Bone. They haven't released their reaction to episode 8 yet. And there's a whole thing where one of them, so there's a gay black guy and then there's a straight white guy, and they're best friends or whatever, and they've done this for years, and it's great. They've been friends for years, and then they've done this for a while too. The straight white guy went on a very long rant about stop fridging women without saying those words, and everyone in the comments were like, "Yes, Rizzo." So yeah.
But of the do all your characters have agency? That's what we want to read about. That's what we're that's not, people don't care for characters without agency. That's just, a ride. That's not a real character.
I mean, basically my stories are taking away my character's agency, and then the premise is the agency is taken away, and then the character's like, no,
they have to recover it. Yeah,
they're still fighting for their that is part of.
That's part of agency.
Which is part of their agency, but it's
their agency.
It's like they're not in charge of their life, which is why the inciting incident happens, and then they're like, no.
This is what happens when you write an adult book with protagonists who are underage, because they are still kids. They are under the adult's power, because that's, it's my roof, my rules, and you do what I do. And it's and then the child has to overcome child abuse, basically.
It's why I turned my young adult book, it's still young adult in themes and stuff, and I'll say for young adults so that people aren't scandalized by the amount of steaminess that's in it at some points, where they're all in college, but the themes are young adult, which is again why you can't go by just the character's age. Also you have adult novels where the main character is a child. Hi. But it's I had to move her to college because I was like, as much as the mom is a good mom, there's no way that most of this stuff could happen if she was living with her mom while in high school.
Right.
The amount of manipulation that happens to her from other characters would never fly if her mom was there, because her mom's also psychic and is would be something's up.
Yeah, that's what I loved about the that vampire series. The whole Oh yeah, of course you have to get rid of the mom, because what mom would let their daughter into any of these situations with vampires?
Which vampire series are you talking about?
No reasonable mom
Twilight.
would do that. Oh yeah, Twilight.
Vampire Diaries. The both parents are dead.
Rule 1: just kill off the parents, because no good parents allow this to happen.
Yeah, Twilight parents. Mom is in a different state, and like the dad is like constantly working, and like while he's a good person, he's not the best dad.
Yeah,
you know, like you can't have good parents in a young adult book, or if you do, they gotta die, or they gotta be like sidelined in some way. So maybe they don't die, but maybe they're put in the hospital and are close to death, or something like.
Mm-hmm.
Renee was a terrible mom. Yes, she was. So was the mom in 50 Shades of Grey, who was based off of Renee. But is anyone surprised?
No.
Oh, that reminds me though, because of the book I've been listening to that I'm hoping Doll was able to start reading.
I started.
Yay.
And in there, they're talking about one of the main characters starts getting approached, and her sort of boyfriend gets run off by the main character, who's anyway. Not going to all those explanations.
Run off.
But you remind me of
run off
if
the
someone
or
just run out
figuratively.
Like he made sure, he was a creepy guy who was just after this, underage girl for sex.
Yeah,
is really.
But
it reminded me of another red flag.
I would have been like, okay.
If someone wants to be your friend and they do not want to be around any of your other friends, if they avoid join in if other people will be there is another red flag.
Yeah.
Because if they want to be your friend, they want to be with other friends of yours because they like people like you.
Yeah, they want to know your friends, they want to hang out, it's okay, it's cool, and if they just avoid that, yeah, that's a red flag.
That's a mama.
I feel like if you just say Renee, it is a dunk on her. People will be like, who? And that's your point. And then like you could be like, my point exactly. When was she ever present?
All right, are we about ready for another break?
Yes, I need some water.
All right,
Okay.
y'all. May I recommend everybody maybe check the drink situation? Do you have something to drink? Maybe take a little walk, a little bio break. Save your work, my darlings. You are worth saving the work. And we will meet you back here in approximately 10 minutes. Hello there, y'all. It's just me. Ain't nobody here but us chickens. Ain't nobody here at all. Do 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 do. That's okay. So anyway, now that I have you all to myself, I'm so glad you're here.
Not really.
Oh, well done.
Yeah, I was just munching
My
some ice.
plans have been ruined.
I'm here too, but I'm eating.
I love y'all. You're still muted, Tom. Look at those eye rolls. Can't imagine where he learned them.
Learned them all from you.
I know. I'm the bad influence in Tom's life.
You're the drama.
I mean, you're not wrong. I love a good feather boa.
Although it did, admittedly, with our family, it takes a lot of drama for us to notice it. So it is a life skill required for, survival.
True. Also, I'm like, oh, whoa. I do declare. After all this time. I mean, like, I just enjoy the melodrama, y'all. I'm so glad everybody's crunching ice. It is so hot here. Today's high here was 96 degrees. And it's something
I think
like 76% humidity, like melting. People just melting in the streets, y'all. The air conditioner is suffering. That's why I keep fanning myself, because honestly, our air conditioner is like, at this point, this is where it's like, it's a little too much. And I totally understand.
How will we, Glory, like, how will your people in the commune keep tundra climate in Mississippi?
Like myself, yes.
Oh, we already know how to do that. It's
yes. So we do. That's in part where the water feature, the pond, actually will come in handy to help us cool. We have a variety of cooling methods, including cooling and heating the floors in all the tiny homes, as well as the community center and the various kitchens and so on, because there will be at least one commercial kitchen, because I intend to have a gift shop, y'all. And so if anybody would like to make fudge with me, that would be great.
Kind of like a small cafe type of kitchen. Oh, no.
Well, like, we'll have a commercial kitchen for actually producing.
That's the writer's coffee shop.
Yes. Absolutely, because we're going to grow community as well. But yes, we have a variety of ways that we're going to keep everybody wonderfully cool and also wonderfully toasty in the wintertime, because no one should be cold in the winter and no one should be too hot in the summer, unless that is what they want. There are some people that truly love to sit out and sunbathe, and I admire them and their melanin that I do not possess.
My dad,
I only burn. I do not tan.
My dad burns and he doesn't care. He goes out, he bathes, and I'm like, Dad, seriously? And he's like, yeah, I know, I am all red like a shrimp. I don't care.
It's not a tan. It's the wrong color for tan.
I only go from red to lobster red. And then it peels off to just show paler skin. That's it. That's all I have. There's no tanning. So it is my life. So yes, we do actually have plans, because I like it quite cold. Like, I will, if it's anything cooler or warmer, than 62 degrees Fahrenheit in my bedroom while I sleep, I will sweat. So I really do need it cold to be comfortable. So why, yes, we have thought of all these things, as well as for those who wish to be toasty in the summer. And I don't know, usually the ones who like to be toasty in the summer also like to be toasty in the winter. So we have lots of plans.
They just like the warmth. Yeah,
which I absolutely understand. And also, it's like, can I interest you in some crochet materials I have made for you? Here's a blanket, my darlings. That sort of just, hey, let me feed this yarn addiction I have. And then I just need more colors. So anyhow,
I'd be curious to learn, because I've never had the chance to learn any of those yarn, knitting, and crocheting, and all that stuff. I never had a chance. Well, so it sounds interesting.
And our stepmother, as you may recall, was completely blind, and she was the one who taught me how to tat. And she did tatty. She was taught how to do it at the School for the Blind, and she loved it. She made whole blanket bedspreads from her tatting, and they were amazing and beautiful, and it was like she used cotton thread for it, and it was just gorgeous stuff. And so it is very friendly to those who want to make something pretty with their hands.
Yeah.
So
I'm curious. Yeah. I have promised myself that I will keep my mind open to different things that can happen in my life. So,
very nice.
I like that. I could try different things just to have the chance. It's just that I know that before I become even more open-minded, I have a lot of things to heal and a lot of PTSD to solve before I can move on to the next step.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm very self-aware in that sense.
Yes, that's excellent. So, so we thought for the third act of the show, we would talk about what are the ways to tell when you have a real friend, a true friend. How do you know the difference of, oh, this is the one, or this is...
And what are reasonable requests of friends?
How I wish I could just call her in Amanda. Yeah. My friend Amanda. I consider her a friend. We are open about many things, but we have boundaries, and it's perfectly fine. For example, she has a thing that she cannot, like, we're basically sisters at this point. We have been friends since high school, but she cannot hear that you're going to the bathroom while you're on the phone. Please close the call and then call me back when you're out of the It's a thing. I mean, it's a thing. That's okay, but we respect that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And when for example, something that Zara also did here in one of the streams, when you said, like, people who don't know you are not gonna waste their time giving you pity, and I appreciate it because Zara is pointing out something that's a blind spot to me. And Amanda does the same. She calls me out on my bullshit. She points out things that I'm not perceiving clearly because depression is a thing and she understands. But she doesn't do it in an invalidating way. She's just trying to, like, hey, at this point you are seeing black and white and you need to see the gray. And it is not just this or that. There's points in the middle that you're missing out. And then she tries to explain why, but without any sense of invalidation or condescending. No, nothing like that. She's just trying to help me see the light, if that makes sense. And I appreciate it. I mean, she takes the time to get me out of that hole without, calling me out on my flaws when I need it the most. I think that's a true friend, someone who is authentic and honest all the way through, regardless of having an argument at some point. They are being themselves with you. I appreciate that a lot.
Arguments are not the end of things. It's where you see things differently, but you'll come back later and go, okay, but really what's going on here, as you try to coincide your different viewpoints. But your initial viewpoints are not always going to align. That's all right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's actually a really good example. The one I had in mind is a much sillier, simple one, but it comes up so often. I think about it, which is part of the way I enjoy media is I like to talk about it. And so Glory, has just come to accept of how much Tom likes to talk about what he's watched.
Or read. Or read.
Yeah. And so one of the agreements we have and understandings as friends is if there is a new show that we both like, Glory will watch it first alone so that she can just enjoy the show straight through, enjoy the emotional arcs and everything. And then after she's watched it, then we're going to watch it again. And Tom's going to watch it for the first time so that Tom can turn around and we can pause the show for a moment while he has a quick thought he wants to say to Glory.
Some shows, the show itself may only be 22 minutes long, but it'll take us an hour and a half because he keeps needing me to pause it and let him speak his mind. So I like to watch particularly my favorite shows. So when I say that, I'm talking about like Doctor Who and the Schmigadoon musical that just finished. I like to watch it uninterrupted one time. However, it doesn't actually have to be the first time I watch it, because there have been shows where we watched it together as it was, being released. It's just after he goes to bed, I will then watch it uninterrupted one time and really get to enjoy it, just to be in that
That's
immersive
nice.
experience.
And if she hasn't had a chance, then she'll just let me know. If we're not going to do a talking one this time, we can watch it again if we want to talk.
Right.
And say, all right, we understand this about each other. We have different ways of absorbing and enjoying our media.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
yeah.
We have boundaries that we work with the other person so that we can both enjoy it in our ways.
Audiobooks are my thing, but I don't think I can listen to an audiobook with another person, because I just react. I get so immersed in the story that I if something really dramatic happens, or a very twisty plot twist, whatever, I yell. I start screaming no way! You gotta be fucking kidding me! Yeah, it's just that happened with Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I was screaming the whole way. I'm sorry. I just
and in our family and friends have certainly on road trips listened to audiobooks as a group. And again, it is if you've got to if you need to say your piece, it's let us pause the book. So everybody essentially gets a round table moment to speak out what they are thinking in this moment. And then, we can go back to listening to it. It's just, but I think with real friends, with true friends, they accept you for, you have something to say and you've got to get it out. Versus people who still keep insisting that someone else conform to a certain kind of behavior or something like that. Where there's certain levels of behavioral conventions that I think are reasonable to have, such as, everyone, being given time to speak their mind. That's partly, that is just simply manners, right? But I've been in certain friend groups where it was more than just being mannered. It was, you're only allowed to speak in certain kinds of conventions. You can only say positive things. You can't disagree at all with someone else, versus I think it's perfectly reasonable to have a difference of opinions and everyone still loves each other. That's okay. Everybody still likes each other.
I'm gonna quote the gem of a quote of a character that I saw recently, and I'm gonna do the voice because it happens so that I can do this. All right. So we have to stop talking about failures and negativity as if it was a bad thing. Imperfection is what makes scientific experimentation possible. Imperfection is beautiful, at least to me.
Yep.
Freaking Entrapta. I'm sorry. My Amanda is how do you do Entrapta's voice? Why are you like her? Why? and I'm I don't know. She was inside of me all along. I'm on the side of science.
Yep.
And that's how I should cast for She-Ra if they ever make a remake.
Nice. Real quick, hello, Laura, and possibly
Laura.
Goodbye, Laura, because Roy is, I believe, insisting on a walk. Totally understandable. He's like, come on, Mammy, let's go walk now. And Megan says, I love Entrapta.
I love it. I saw that show because of my friend. She made me watch it because as you may know, I prefer audiobooks, and series are visual, and I'm but she made me watch it and I enjoyed it because audio descriptions are a thing. And I stayed just for her. I watched the entire She-Ra, whatever, is 5, 6 seasons. I don't even remember how many there were, but I just watched it because of her. It was amazing. Yeah, that's my character. If I ever cosplay a character, it's going to be rather Entrapta or Tough, you dunderheads.
Hi, Diana. Diana is here now. Let's see. Michael CB Chen said,
hey, Michael!
Yes, surely off topic. But here's a crazy story.
Sorry.
Tom. But here's a crazy story. I was watching happily when the power went out. It stayed off for maybe close to an hour. But just a few minutes after it went out, a whole bunch of fire trucks, ambulances, and police cars stormed up to my neighbor's house right across the street. They ended up taking my poor neighbor and a good man named Chris out on a stretcher. Oh, good no.
Good Lord, that's a story for a Monday. What a start of the week. Mm-hmm. Wow. I like Michael. He's a great part of the chat. In every stream I've seen him.
I hope no one was working on DIY renovations, and that's why the power went out. I'm only speaking from experience. Yeah. Not Tom.
Not Tom.
Yes.
No.
So,
but like, watching like, things together. Oh yeah, because of
being allowed to like state your opinions about media and being honest about it, and nobody like,
or having a friend who just helps you,
tone or how you say, like, it just gets a little micromanaging there when people are like, oh, but like say it in a happy way. Like, I'm sorry, what?
And like one of the things that does come up on here because of the nature of AuthorTube is the it's okay to go, this story, I am not the market for this story. That's okay as well. It's not anything, like I told Maggie of like, I'm definitely the target for Maggie's ghost stories. I am not as much her one for, I think, what's it called? The Hunter series, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the market. I mean, I can definitely still, give things about, what I think about the qualities of it are, but in a good friendship, that doesn't change, how we see each other. That
doesn't change the friendship. Exactly.
That doesn't change things. And it's also okay sometimes to actually tell your friends of, I'm a little sensitive about this. Mm. We're just going to talk about what works right now. We will come back in a week or two when I'm feeling better, and we can talk about what I need to improve. Like, again, you're setting up boundaries. You're setting up situations so everyone is clear about what's going on here.
That's one of the things I needed to learn as a reader, because again, fantasy and the blind trope is everywhere, and I saw it even in AuthorTuber stuff, and I was like, am I even welcome here? And I was kind of sensitive about it, and I didn't know at the time. I didn't know how to express it in a way that doesn't hurt other people. Yeah. So I made mistakes there, and I admit it. I'm not perfect. I'm quite flawed, and that's why I have also taken distance, because I need to learn like, how can I work around the trope, because like they just write it. It's not even intentional. They just do it because it's there. They don't even. It's not directed at me. It's not because I exist that they are doing it. It's not personal. This is not high school bullying anymore. It's not that. It's not that. Doll, they are not trying to hurt you. But however, what happens is that I don't know how to express it yet in a way that doesn't come across as an angry, ranty reader on Goodreads, for example. Right. So like I still need, like, before I come back to AuthorTube, I need to make it clear that yes, I get angry, but I'm not trying to destroy you. It's just I'm still healing over that trope, and I don't know how to yet express it in any other way. So I just need some time.
And you never know in friendships who has what views. I mean, Barrett was talking about how he views, he hasn't really made it yet till someone on Reddit just does a diatribe on him. He's just reading him, like, it's like, I know I haven't made it till they start just talking about all the problems with you.
So I think Zara has another appointment to go to and needs to go. I just wanted, before she actually has to go, I wanted to point out, y'all, all of Zara's detail information is down below. Her YouTube channel link, her Twitch channel link, her coffee link, as well as the link to all of her lovely books, which will include any future books as well. Convenient in one webpage. So I just wanted everybody to know all of Zara's wonderful details are down below. And that one lovely example about good friends, as she pointed out, is So a couple weeks ago, we were having serious car trouble, and we had gone to go work on the truck. And on our way back, the truck broke again. And we had agreed to be on one of Zara's live streams. And I just felt like, oh, Zara's never going to want to be friends with us anymore, because like finding out I was already running late because we'd lost track of time while working on the truck. And then the truck broke, and it was like, oh yeah, we're literally a mile away from the house. The truck like truly broke. And so I realized like I was dealing with essentially kind of baggage from previous relationships where they're like, oh, it's just an excuse. You just didn't want to, and that's why you're doing this last minute kind of. But Zara was not like that at all. She was like, okay, I hope everything's okay and everything goes well. And it really helped me see that I have past trauma to address, because loving people do not act that way. That when you last minute, can't come to a thing that you had said you would, they don't like immediately get paranoid about it and accuse you of things. They are like, oh, well, I hope you're all right. Like we were literally stuck in the rain in an empty parking lot. And there was not even a gas station for at least a half mile in every direction.
Yeah.
It was truly,
a mile in every direction.
Yeah, it was nuts. And it took about an hour and a half to actually get the truck towed.
Yeah.
It was a whole rigmarole. But seeing how Zara did not add to that stress when I was so used to whoever, including in the past supervisors, bosses, adding to that trauma. Yeah, as Zara said, I wasn't getting an answer from Gloria or Tom via social media, and I was honestly worried for them, so I was just happy they were alive. Yes. Because of the rain, it had knocked out the nearby cell tower to where we were stuck.
I can relate to that. I can relate to not being able to even reply because electricity just left. And you have no means to come back. And it's like, hey, and hours later, it's like, hey, I hope you get my message. I think I ran out of power and I don't have data. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Yeah, that has happened to me so many times.
Yeah, as I say, anyone who in the course of 2 to 12 hours will send a series of messages from checking up on you to they no longer want to speak to you, and you haven't responded once, there's a red flag. That's not someone you really want to be in a relationship with.
Yes.
Of any kind.
As Nia pointed out, Nia was also messaging me like, Gloria, are you okay? What happened? And I was just like, oh, they're all going to hate me, because that's how I had experiences with people like that before, who I didn't show up to an appointment or, an agreed upon get together. And they go from worried to I'm never speaking to you again, and literally giving me the silent treatment in a matter of 2 hours. While, I was dealing with genuine, problems, like whether it was car problems or the electricity cut off in my house because a tree fell. And so I need to immediately deal with this, as well as let the electric company know.
I'm not in the States and I'm not in Europe. I'm in a South American country. Electricity problems are a thing down here.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, more than one person in my life in the past would be like, oh, hope you're okay, to just give me a silent treatment, never talking to me again or not talking to me for weeks, because I didn't show up to a thing that I literally had suddenly difficulties getting to because of just, random troubles. And it was just such a relief to me that Zara and Nia were not like second guessing me or wondering if I really was having car trouble or just using none of that. They were just both very relieved that I was okay once, essentially. So for what we could figure, probably the nearest cell tower had been struck by lightning during the storm that we got stuck in a parking lot with the truck broken and had to wait. I mean, the storm did move on within about a half hour, but it takes a little bit for someone to go up to the cell tower to essentially
fix it,
restart the whole system.
Throw all the fuses so that it resets, and then it would work again, because it does have a kill switch, or something else may have happened. I don't know. I did not ask. So, anyhow, it was just such a startling difference from so many people I've been friends with over the last several decades that it was like, oh, is this what lovely people are like? This is so refreshing and different. Oh, Azira says, anyway, love you all, but bye now. We'll be streaming Writing Sprints tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, Eastern Daylight, and 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight tomorrow with the awkward siblings, Gloria and Tom. And then Zara put the link on, just so y'all know. So thank you so much. Bye-bye, Zara.
Bye, Zara. Take care.
Hello, Adrian. How are you?
Hola, Adrian. ¿Cómo está? Yeah, he says mi gente. Yeah, that's Spanish. Nice to see. I also like to see the difference when it's not, people who are not second guessing you. This is why I'm so openly saying, hey, I'm a hermit. I have my days when I really don't want to talk to anyone. Please don't take it personal. I'm just like that. I need to heal. I'm still healing. Yes. I'm not okay.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely not okay. Sometimes I cannot make it to the streams. Streams tax a lot on my energy, and I love them, but I also need to write my books. So it's like, what do I want to do? Do I want to socialize or do I want to create? I don't have for both today. And it's like, can I do? But some days I do. So today was one of those days where I already. So today was, what the heck was in that coffee today? I mean, I wrote.
I think you got over that shot.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, I got extra energy now that it's not making immune cells.
Right?
Yes. I wrote 970 words today, which is a miracle. So like almost 1,000 words in a day for Dal is like, wow, Dal, what was on that coffee? And I was at Lisa's stream this morning. Then I also did a couple of social media posts for people I'm helping with Instagram. So if you need some social media assistance, I'm here. That's exactly the nonfiction book that I'm writing about. It's a complete guide to Instagram from this blind author herself. And now I'm here. So it's like, oh, and I had a book discussion for some business project that I'm going to be working on later in the near future. So what was on that coffee today? I don't know. I might leave this stream a little earlier because I've done so much and I don't want to be dead tomorrow. But you see, today was an exception, but there are days when just coming to one stream is like, no, I just cannot. So I have to accept this, and I have to be very clear with everyone about it precisely so no one is second guessing, because being a hermit is not very well understood sometimes. And so I feel like if I am open and honest about it, hey, I am a person who lacks the stamina to do all the things. So I like when people are understanding. I like when I can be open about it and no one is judging. It's like, hey, that's how she operates. I mean, she has depression. Come on, it's okay. She has that. I mean, it's a thing. So it is good. It's a positive sign when people just let you be, and you still belong, and it's still okay. That's just.
And that actually reminds me of another really good example from childhood that people, if they recognize it, they bring it up, but most people don't, and they don't really remember it always. But the Winnie the Pooh series, they always made sure to invite Eeyore. They were happy when Eeyore showed up. They were not upset at Eeyore when Eeyore didn't show up. Eeyore sometimes was up for it, and other times wasn't.
Yeah.
And like also, I know from previous times, years ago with some of my friends, of sometimes you just don't know how people are feeling, how they're doing. And so we would also often ask each other of like, all right, but could you go if someone else picked you up and took you home? Because again, it's the the energy also of driving or taking public transportation is not always up for it. And it'd be like, I can, but I can only be there for like these 2 hours. Will someone still be okay, taking me home early from the party? And it's like, no problem. We'll ask around, see who's got what schedule planned.
Of like just accepting people for who they are and where they are in that moment. I think that's like a good flag.
Yeah. It really makes things a lot easier, especially for those of us introverts, people who are healing, people who are in recovery, people with different hiccups. It makes it a lot easier to just be honest about things.
Yeah. Well, like yesterday, on Charlie's Discord, they had like a little in the evening, like sort of a little group hangout, and mostly people were, playing games and stuff. And I was happy to go hang out with everybody, but I wasn't really in a very verbal mood. So honestly, because the way Discord chat is, there's not really a place to type when there's a verbal chat. So for lack of a better immediate option, I just messaged Megan and she'd read it out loud for me to everybody else, which was wonderful. It worked out very well for me to, air my momentary grievances about Ed Sheeran. And and then otherwise, everybody was just playing games and mostly not really being that verbal. And that was really nice. But again, everybody was happy to just accept me where I am and not, oh, why aren't you talking? Like, if I'm not talking, I'm literally not in the mood to talk about why I'm not talking. I just... just let me be me, but instead, because I've had that experience with other groups in the past, instead, nobody was like, why is Gloria suddenly not talking? It was just like, they just accepted me exactly how I am. And that was it. There was no need for discussion. It was just a nice, easygoing little hangout. Tamama says, I usually don't say much during the hangouts either. It's just nice to be exposed to chatter, especially chatter that's much more normal than what I usually get. Yeah, like I eventually even opened up, I set up the stuff for today's stream yesterday. So I got that done after I had finished arguing with my laptop for over an hour. An update had stalled out. And it was like, no, your mouse doesn't even work. And I'm like, look, I will send you to the darkness and bring you back laptop and you'll be grateful. And so after I had gotten the laptop to work, I set up for today's stream. And then I did a little stuff on Twitter because, I like to check every once in a while, see how people are doing. And then I was like, I could play my little townsman game. Everybody else played. And we just had a lovely little time. Time flew. It was lovely. Bye, Adrian. I hope.
And there's another reasonable request.
Shows going
that
on.
Friends can make for each other, but again, it's part of healthy boundaries of. Can I just come over and visit? I don't want to do anything specific. There's no shows on. I just want to hang out. You can do whatever you're planning to do. It's just been a while since I've been able to be around you, and I just like being around. That again is reasonable and understandable of that you're safe saying that to each other. Mm-hmm. I don't have plans. Can I just come over? And then, the other person can say, like, sure, or you can, but I've got this thing I have to go do in an hour after that, or so on. But real friends are happy with healthy communication of here's what I can do, here's what I can't. Mm-hmm. And there's another, good, green flag versus red flag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, I like the way sometimes Tom and I hang out. I know, believe it or not, we are housemates, and we also sometimes enjoy hanging out. But the way we like to hang out is we'll play a movie or a TV show or something where we both want to watch, and then we both are, like, on our tablets or other devices playing games, and then occasionally pause when one of us has something to say about the show. And it's just a nice way to pass the time. But like, honestly, there have been times where we both watched an entire movie and had very little to say about the movie, except occasionally turn to look at each other and be like, can you believe they just said that? And they're like, yep. And then we go back to watch it. Like just that. Did you see that? I sure did. And then back to watching it. Nikki says, wait, you want to go back?
Okay.
I wish people would do that type of hangout with me. Just come and chill while we both do our own thing. Exactly.
Here's continuing.
Like, please do a puzzle while I write or nap. Exactly. Of like, we could just be in the same room. My dog taught me this. Of like, this is a wonderful way to interact. Like, yeah, she just would want to hang out, but she didn't want to actually play with me. She didn't even want to interact, and she didn't necessarily even really want to be petted. She just wanted to be in the same room with me. And I'm like, I wish humans were like this. And then I learned some are. Let's see. Megan said, Tom,
sorry.
I love friends like that where you can just hang out without any plans going on.
And then Tamama did write what I was trying to remember.
Oh yeah, it's called parallel play. Yes, that is actually what it's called.
Kids do it.
It's very popular in the neurodivergent world, and I think everyone should give it a try. It's fantastic. Yes, exactly. Like, that is who taught me. Like, this is my dog taught me. She was wonderful, y'all. It was wonderful. 15
But also,
years.
parallel play is one of the first ways kids sort of learn to play with each other when they're toddlers. Like, before they actually learn interactive play with other toddlers, they will do parallel play where they both want to just be near each other.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that they're being antisocial, that they're not directly interacting. Mm-hmm. It's just that they haven't quite figured out how do you interact with another person. But like, that is the first kind of play a lot of toddlers really get with other toddlers when they first meet them.
I have had friends who told me they could not bear to do parallel play. Like, they didn't know the word, but they're like, I can't just exist in this room with you and not like talk to you constantly. And I'm like, it's okay. Like, I'm not expecting you to talk to me. You just do your little art thing or whatever you're doing, and I'm over here, and we're happy to be in the same room together, and then we'll have a snack together. I mean, like, we were both grown adults, by the way, having this conversation. And she was just like, I can never do this again. I have to leave. Like, and left. And really just didn't want to talk to me again. And I was like, okay. I don't know what this is about, but I'm pretty sure it's not about me. Yeah, that was my mid-20s. Mid-20s were wild. So I just, like, I think that if what you enjoy sometimes is parallel play, knowing what it is, knowing how to explain to someone else, and finding people who are happy to do that with you, I think can be very constructive. But if it's something you hate, also knowing what it is so you can explain to someone else, please don't ever call me over for parallel play. It is important.
It is like comfortable silence kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like one of the things I'm going to bring up on next week's show about sexuality is there's definitely been a lot of confusion in the allo world about, all these different labels people are coming up with to describe their views on romance and friendship and sexuality. Like it's something new, versus if you actually read a lot of people's journals and diaries, since people have been writing, you'll see these little hints and comments of there's been all this variety in humans the entire time. It's just we haven't had words to say it, nor have we had open, acceptable places and spaces to speak about it.
Well, but also, like, even there have been words in other eras, but the definitions of those words have changed over hundreds of years in English. So, a way a medieval person might describe an asexual person, the wording is different because they had different ways to say that. But there was still plenty of space in European medieval world for asexual individuals to be respected of being asexual or, being however they were. There were plenty of gay people too. There were plenty of homosexuals. There were plenty of bisexuals.
LGBTQ plus communities were not invented in the 60s.
There were plenty of autistic folks and plenty of people with ADD and ADHD. Ain't nothing changed about human beings in tens of thousands of years, except the words we use to describe and explain. And so it's just more about the ignorance we have about previous eras and the wording that they used, the way they describe things, but people really don't change as a species. We really haven't changed in well over 10,000 years from what we know of what we've been able to figure out. Nobody's changed. We've been this way. Exactly.
I mean, come on. I love this. The oldest recorded, we're pretty sure he's gay in history. I love it. Is because, in part, you ready for what their profession was?
Mm-hmm. What? Tell me all about it.
They were an Egyptian hairstylist and barber.
Yes. Oh, that one. Yes.
That is the oldest recorded so far of no, he had a boyfriend husband.
Yes, they lived together.
As well in the records.
There's
no question.
And they were buried in each other's arms when one died, and then years later the other died. They were bury me with him, so they redug up, put him back in.
So beautiful. Humans haven't changed. It's not like this all of a sudden showed up.
No. Humans be humans. We just keep humaning around all the damn time. It's great.
It was quite. That's why for me to finally understand that, hey, asexual is not a meme.
Mm-hmm.
It's a thing, and you might be it. And coming out as ace was just like such, like the weight has lifted off my shoulders. Like
it's also a great shorthand asexual. To explain so much about you
Mm-hmm.
and the relationship expectations you have with others and others can have with you. Of like, here's a very succinct way, and you can check on, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it was really liberating for me, at least. I mean, I came out when I was 25, so hey, I was old enough. I was old enough. There was no family roof to explain things to. I was in another country. I had the freedom to come out and realize.
Yep. Exactly.
For real, but it's nice to know that my Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi is starting to be a mess. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I mean, like,
I noticed that the screen just flickered.
Yeah. It's about time to start wrapping up anyway. So this kind of works out.
I might just say goodbye. I might just say goodbye.
Yeah.
Well, Doll's information is listed all down below. If you aren't already following her, please do.
Thank you.
Especially on Instagram.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Especially on Instagram.
I'm posting a lot more consistently there. I will come back to YouTube once I heal over. The plan is maybe October, and I know that rhymed, and that was not on purpose. I swear this time it wasn't on purpose.
Hey, nothing wrong with rhyming. It's fantastic.
Hey, here's a little secret from knowing Gloria as long as I have. When Gloria gets tired, you can always tell because she starts speaking in haikus.
Yes, like literally 575. It's yeah.
Wow. So thank you so much for inviting me. It's always a blast to be here. It feels
so
really
you were able to join us, Doll.
Yeah, it's really nice. So I hope everyone has a great evening, and maybe I'll be in the chat for the next one, or maybe on camera. We will see how I feel that day.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, let us know,
guys.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
So next week, next Monday, same bat time, same bat channel. We are going to be talking about gender and sexuality. Heather and Zara are going to join us, and maybe Doll. Who knows? I don't know. It could be anyone. Anybody could join us. If you are interested in joining us, please let me know. Honestly, so I have time to put your picture on the little thumbnail. But even if you don't know in time for me to put your little picture on the thumbnail, that's fine. However you like to, but if you would like to join us on camera, let me know, and we'll be sure to get you a StreamYard link for next week. Because we have been surprised how many people we've discussed it with who are not aware of scientific studies found that neurodivergent people have different statistical outlays of gender and sexuality than the neurotypical world. So, why yes, we are unique and fabulous, and it is wonderful. I know my brother calls me gender pool, and so maybe one day you all might see me in a comic book. I don't know. I can't make promises, but I'm just saying it could be an option. So that's what we're going to talk about next week. It's going to be fantastic, y'all. It's going to be awesome. Let's see. So tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, we will be on Zara's Twitch channel doing live streaming sprints, productivity sprints. So we would love to have you there. Zara's Twitch link is down below, by the way. Just saying, if you're not following her, we highly recommend. We will be there. And Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central, so 9 p.m. Eastern, Tom and I will be on our Twitch channel, Gloria Writes the Blues, which is linked below. We will be on there doing dinner, and it's either going to be a show or a game. I don't know what's going to happen, frankly. Unless you have if you have a request, let us know. But sometimes we do a Prime TV watch party, and sometimes we play games. And also, if anybody wants to join us on that, let us know. We'll get you a StreamYard link. Let's see. Thursday on my Twitch channel at 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central, we will have Coffee Buddy Cafe. It is crochet and chaos and sometimes people write. Sometimes they play games. I have no idea what happens. It's crafting. And talking and chatting. It's just a good old time for a couple hours on my Twitch channel this Thursday at, again, 3:30 Eastern. I think that's the whole schedule that I know I have agreed to. If I've forgotten anybody, let me know. So that's that. I just didn't want to forget any of those. And then, Tom, do you have any final thoughts about friendship and isolation?
As humans, we in general, we do need friends around, because friends provide that safe space for us to relax. Otherwise, we have to do a lot to feel secure if we are alone. But the whole benefit of having friends is you can relax and let other people's minds also help share the stress load. So, work on finding friends. If you haven't been able to find a lot of people, talk with the people you can talk with and ask where they've, been, meeting with friends and meeting new people. But everyone needs friends, especially everyone needs good friends. I hope some people, learned a few things about, red flags and green flags and what makes a good friendship versus that's not a friendship. That's a abusive situation you need to get out of.
Yeah, here's another flag that I didn't get to mention. If you find that a friend of yours likes to meddle in the relationships of other people, not necessarily your relationship.
Oh, yeah, that one. Yeah.
But anyone, they just like to get in there and stick their little finger in other people's relationships. Do not walk away, run away. That person is exhibiting behavior common in those with antisocial personality disorder. I'm not trying to diagnose anybody, but I'm just saying, this is not a healthy behavior to be rooting around in other people's relationships. Period. And I've certainly had plenty of people try to root around in my relationship with my brother. And I used to think people were just curious about it. But I did not understand, no. They were trying to mess around with our relationship. And it was definitely abusive, what they were trying to do. Because my relationship with my siblings, it is for life. I belong with them. It's just how it is. These are the first people that ever were they just welcomed me as I am. And they welcomed me even though I'm look, I see a lot of my faults and I know I have so much room for improvement. And they're like, yeah, you do, but come on in because you belong with us. And I'm like, really though? And they're like, yeah, sit your butt down. We're having dinner or whatever, of that. And so anybody trying to mess around with other people's relationships, whether it's your own relationships or someone else, you just observing it, run away. Just avoid them at all costs. Michael says, I've been fighting internet issues hard this stream, but I just caught what Tom said loud and clear, and it made everything worthwhile right here. Aww. That's so sweet. So I'm glad it was worth it for you, Michael. I'm so glad. I hope you all have found something useful or worthwhile, or at least enjoyed the conversation with us. We've enjoyed your conversation.
While we're doing, last minute thoughts and essentially clearing house for.
Sure.
You also reminded me of.
Okay.
The what's it called? So what's required? The requirement for drama. That you found, I can't remember where anymore, but the part where you need 3 people.
Oh, this is what I learned when I was in group therapy for 10 years, off and on, about a crisis cycle.
Thank you.
Go on. You
talk. No. I mean, you'll probably be able to explain it better, but I just remember the part of essentially, you need 2 people and you need this third person who wants to pretend to be the white knight, and they are what keep this spinning with partial communication. Instead of doing full communication between everyone, they keep coming in, and this is the requirement for for drama and for this cycle to continue?
Well, you need two people having a conflict and one fixer who's not fixing correctly, not fixing in a healthy, adequate way. Because the way you actually fix it is first, the other two people who are having a conflict need to be speaking their full mind to each other. But it's okay to have a referee, like the fixer. It's okay. It's perfectly reasonable, especially if two people are having, a protracted conflict. It's okay. Michael says, right as you're reading my comment on my screen's doing spinning. Aw. It's a conspiracy, Michael. This will be available for rewatch anytime, though, sweetie.
Yeah.
But but what you need to do, essentially, there is a healthy version of the airing of the grievances where people speak about how they feel and how other people's actions have made them feel. Period. That's all you get to say. You don't get to say how anyone else feels. No. That's not healthy. But both people in the conflict get to air how they feel in a safe environment, and then the referee is the one who helps make sure people are only speaking about how they feel. And then they have to then repeat what they heard the other person say, how they felt. Like, what I heard is that you are feeling this way because of these things that happen, and so on. And then the healthy way to do it is that the referee, if you will, says, okay, now you both need to come up with an option for a resolution. What is it you actually want out of resolving this conflict? Some people just want to be heard. Like, honest to God, like, I always surprised. I used to think, what do they want out of resolution is like some sort of sacrifice from the other person. It turns out a lot of people really just want to be heard. And maybe a little bit of validation of your feelings are real, and I recognize that, and I don't want you to feel that way. Can we please, have a hug? Sometimes not a hug, but, like some sort of resolution. But that's not what a crisis cycle does. No, a crisis cycle is not functional. That white knight fixer is always doing a go-between between the two, and they never have the people in the same room actually speaking how they feel to the other person that actually matters to, the other person in the conflict. They're always going between. And that's how you keep a crisis cycle going. Because you can't have a crisis cycle with just two people. You have to have 3 to 4 people as a minimum to have a crisis cycle going.
Yeah, versus, real friends want people to work things out. They don't want it to be a he said, she said, but there's no evidence on either side type situation.
Yeah, a real crisis cycle, both people in the conflict don't want to talk to the other person in the direct conflict. They only want to be heard by a third or fourth or fifth person. They don't want to tell the actual other person involved in that conflict how that other person made them feel. Because it's about power rather than about being honest.
Yeah, real friendship's not about power.
Real friendship is about egalitarianism. There's no an equal above all equals. That's not a thing. That is not healthy. So, yeah, that's
if your friendship could be in a oh darn, I just lost his name. Animal Farm.
Orwell.
If your friendship could exist in any Orwellian novel, right
not a good
there,
sign.
That's another red flag.
Right? Yeah. Orwell did not write any happy-go-lucky stories that I recall.
Of functional people in any form. No one's functional in Orwell.
I've had a couple people try to convince me that certain characters, like in 1984, were functional, and I have now gotten to the age where I'm looking back like, oh, wow, that person had some really questionable views about human beings. Because, everybody's a bad guy in 1984, including the archivist librarian at the heart of it, the main protagonist. No. Everybody's doing bad. Doesn't mean that people are beyond redemption, but simply like there is no person who is beyond reproach in that book. But that's kind of true of everyone, right? I'm not beyond reproach. You're not beyond reproach. None of us are beyond reproach. We all are works in progress on a journey, our own individual journeys. True friends recognize that and still accept us, warts and all.
Yeah,
that's the revolutionary thing.
Yeah.
Maggie's melting. Laura has returned, rejoicing. Yes, or well, not well. Oh, I love
that is a bad pun worth remembering.
That's a dad pun right there. Mwah!
Yes,
I love it. I love it. I'm here for it.
Beautiful work there, Michael.
So yeah, I think like in that isolation, there's good isolation and there's negative isolation. Good isolation is recuperative, where you've had a little isolation and you feel renewed. You've had a little time to yourself. You've gotten to sort of like bop along in your own head and it was all good. And then there's negative isolation, where you're just feeding on these negative loops in your head and you, if anything, feel more miserable, more exhausted after, say, a few hours or even a day of isolating by yourself. You actually feel worse, or you definitely feel darker about humanity in general. And so, because like I can't just say, oh, isolation's good or isolation's bad. That's just not how humans work. But if you are desiring isolating yourself, it's definitely worth it to ask yourself, is this the positive kind of isolation where I am feeling recuperative the longer I'm doing this? You know, like an hour later, am I still feeling even better? Am I having a good time isolating? Or do you feel, if anything, like those tapes in your head, I'm so old.
The young would now be the audio clips?
Sure. Yeah. I bet it is the clips in your head. Are, just tearing you down and criticizing you. And if anything, you feel more exposed and more vulnerable in a negative way. Ask yourself what you're getting out of it. Because if it's negative experiences or negative feelings while isolating, there may be some unresolved grief that needs to get processed. There may be some negative people that are feeding those clips, perfectly honest there. Because, like, I have experienced both in my life.
Are the TikToks in your brain on repeat?
I cannot. Oh, youngins. Oh, no. I just... Oh, no. Oh, it's so now. I love it, Nikki. I just... Okay. Yes. Are the TikToks of your mind uplifting you or tearing you down? Because it's not that it needs censorship. It just needs to be answered.
And this may seem an odd one to bring up, but I know sometimes the difficulty of resolving these little negative cycles of, thoughts and such is just understanding what the heck is it you're actually feeling. I mean, okay, supposedly for neurotypicals, this is not as big a problem, but I know for me and for a lot of neurodivergents, just figuring out your own emotions can be a rough game to understand. Yeah. And for that, I did recently refind, yet again, someone posted, and I love using the negative emotion wheel. And there's a counterpart, the positive emotion wheel. To kind of help you figure out the specifics of what it is you're feeling and what is the root of that. Like you may be able to say, oh, I'm feeling despair, but despair is actually, at its heart, a simpler emotion. Should I show it on the screen?
Yes, please. I'm trying to find one that'll actually show on the screen because they're such tiny print.
Here, give me. There's a share. Share screen.
Yeah, I found this years and years and years ago on Pinterest. Oh, so long ago. And it was for writers, so they could name the emotions. I wonder if you can zoom in a little. Is that possible or no?
Give me a sec. Let me check.
And like I saw that a lesser form of sadness is boredom, and I was like, oh my goodness. Good points. But yeah, a very mild form of sadness is boredom. And so they're sorrowful, desolate, agonized. These are quite strong. These are all sorts of timid, nervous, overwhelmed, stressed, and so on. Sometimes, wrong way.
Sorry.
Sometimes it can be very helpful to be able to name it. Wrong way. To name it. If you can name the feeling, then you can figure out what to do. Like, what does that need? Why are you feeling remorse? What is that about? Most people do not walk around in their daily lives feeling remorse. So it's time to do a little investigative work. Or feeling insignificant. Okay, that is not, part of regular human existence. So what or who is playing these TikToks in your head? Oh, that's so old.
And that gets to the heart of like, all right, what are you embarrassed about? If you're feeling insignificant, that means you were embarrassed. What embarrassed you?
Mm-hmm. If you're feeling mortified, mocked, violated, strong stuff.
It helps. Sorry, I just keep doing that.
It's okay.
But it does help sometimes when you're not sure of like, roughly what your actual emotion is, but you're like, how do I resolve this? Well, go look at what's the heart of that emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can kind of pick out more specifically of like, all right, what caused that? At what point did I feel that one before I started layering it and making it more complex and adding in all of my adult thoughts? What was the heart, the original cause? And then what can I do to resolve that?
Megan.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Megan said, I keep thinking neurotypicals are that way too, but then I remember I'm not neurotypical, so I have no idea actually. Yes, fair. That's a fair assessment. Oh, no. I mean, I don't know about neurotypicals because I find often it's difficult to talk about feelings with neurotypicals because at least the ones that I've known many, supposedly anyway. And because it's now thought that neurodivergence number about 1 out of 8 people is neurodivergent, y'all. So we are not half as rare as maybe we grew up thinking we are. But 1 out of 8 people is neurodivergent. But among neurotypicals, they're like, oh, I don't know how I'm feeling. I'm like, how do you know it? I mean, you seem like you're walking around with a chip on your shoulder today. Is everything okay? And they're like, oh, I thought I was fine. I'm like, you've literally snapped at 3 different customers today. When all they asked you was, how much is this? Because it was missing a tag. Why would you snap at somebody for that? It's not their fault. They don't know. I love these emotion wheels. I highly recommend. They're wonderful for your characters, but they're also really great for introspection. Maggie says, my family could live on the orange, green, and blue pie slices. Fair. It's a mood right there. Usually when I feel embarrassed, it's some societal pressures. Agreed. Maggie's red flag. People who keep twisting things into the negative. Negativity can be an addiction, and people will sabotage their happiness and others.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I call that the first to be offended rule. If you are offended first, then no one else can be offended by your behavior because you are already offended, and so you're justified.
Yes. So I would definitely recommend if you find that your thoughts or the kind of music you're listening to or the kind of the mood of the movies you're watching when you're isolating are not maybe what you would normally expect about you. It may be time to go take a look at the emotion wheel, go, where am I here?
By the way, there is a counterpart, a positive emotions wheel as well.
There is a positive emotion wheel as well. I highly recommend both.
Maggie, do I need to send you these images? Just curious.
Maggie says, breaking the anger and resentment cycle and not participating in the vortex of negativity. That is my family, my birth family's normal, was the hardest part of my growing up. Oh, mood. Yes. Yes. So I have found that learning how to communicate what's going on inside me better with words, with labels, has been helpful for being able to differentiate good, true friends and people who do not love me for who I am.
Should we tell Laura?
Not sure what I am neurologically. Got the depression, was diagnosed with ADHD, but did well in school. What does neurotypical mean? All right. So neurotypical is the default to neurodivergent, and neurodivergent includes people diagnosed with autism, ADD, ADHD, bipolar, borderline personality disorder, epilepsy. I know I'm forgetting something. I can see it. It's almost there.
Stuttering.
Stuttering, yes, is part of neurodivergence. There's a bunch of stuff. So 1 out of 8 people are neurodivergent. 1 of 8 people on the planet is neurodivergent.
Because what it really has to do with is it means that you showed signs in childhood that your brain was developing differently than the average brain.
Maybe a different pace.
And so that means that there will be lifelong changes in how you interpret information from the world, and then how you communicate it as well. That's why you're neurodivergent, because the brain literally developed a little to a lot, depends on the person, differently throughout their entire lifespan. That's why autism, that's why people say they are autistic versus a person with autism, because it influenced their entire life and how they came to be the person they are now. ADHD did the same thing.
I take away autism and I would literally not be the same person, because it's been involved in my brain development since the very beginning, since in the womb. Okay. So it definitely has influenced everything about me, including my personality. And so ditto with my ADHD. It definitely has influenced. I can't tell y'all how many cues I've missed from friends or people I thought were friends growing up, and even in my 20s, because I wasn't diagnosed with ADHD till I was 27. Yep. Neurodivergent. So
yeah, again, say, Laura, you're female, so the part where you weren't diagnosed with ADHD till just recently, normal. Yeah, that's because because the way girls and boys present, totally different on average, and so people only tended to pick up on the boys because they were disruptive and caused everyone else more problems. If you weren't causing problems, they weren't going to go get you assessed or anything.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think neurodivergent is wonderful, but here's what I'm going to say about when I learned I was neurodivergent. It was such a relief, because immediately my internal pressure I was putting on myself to conform to normal behavior started lessening, when I'm like, oh, there's a reason I'm this way. And it's never going to all go away. I could try to cope all I want. I could try to mask all I want, but I will always, underneath that mask, be me. And so I started putting less pressure on myself to pass for normal. Again, I'm just, because what is normal? Normal is ridiculous. But I'm just saying, when I finally had a label, because while I was diagnosed with being autistic when I was 6, my parents were really strange about that, and they didn't want me to label myself. So they did not say that word inside the house. And I got in trouble a couple times when I used it to describe myself or Tom. That one. So, they didn't want the labels. That was that. Y'all know our parents were born in the 1940s. Okay. They were much older, and they were old. They were the oldest parents in every class I ever had in school. So, but our
mother was a boomer. Our father was even older and was not even a boomer.
Yes. Daddy,
to give you an idea,
born in 1940. Okay. So let's see, Mama says, OMG, so many things just instantly make sense. And like, since diagnosis and interacting with the community, it's like, I can stop torturing myself trying to deal with certain things. Yes, if that makes sense. Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. So when I was about 20, 21, 22, I started having these memories from when I was institutionalized at age 6. And I asked my mother about it. And then she actually told me, like, yes, you were forcibly legally taken away from us because they thought, you were abused and that's why you were different. And then when you were put in that mental institution, they diagnosed you with autism, which at the time in the early to mid 80s, at least in Mississippi, autism was still considered a diagnosis of maternal neglect. So if a child is autistic, then that automatically means that they are being neglected by their mother. At the time, I'm not saying in reality, but this was how it was interpreted. And so they temporarily removed my parents' parental rights. And I was institutionalized in this place against my will, against my parents' will, and was a temporary ward of the state, apparently. And then my parents pretty much just never talked about it afterwards. When they were able to get me released a few weeks later, they didn't talk about it ever again because they were hoping I would forget it, except I didn't. And I kept having these memories come back. And I wondered if they were just dreams or if they were real memories. And so in my early 20s, on the advice of my support group therapist, who said, why don't you ask your mother? Since your mother is still talking to you, this is probably a good time to ask her. And several other people who were in my support group were like, yeah, if you got a parent talking to you, that's a great, get that information now. And that's how I found out about my autistic diagnosis, which I wasn't aware of till then. So having that helped since I was in the education program. I knew a little bit about autism, but my mother made it very clear when she told me, she's like, whatever you do, don't ever tell anyone. Don't ever tell anyone you have a diagnosis of autism because they won't hire you. They won't keep you. They'll find a reason to fire you. And I saw the truth of this. Even when I was teaching, I asked about, well, what if like one of the teachers says that they are diagnosed with autism? And they're like, oh, we'd find a way to fire them. Like, it is amazing what people will say to my face, y'all. And when I was a librarian, I asked similar kind of questions of like, oh, what if we had a librarian who was autistic? How do you think that would work out? And let me tell you the kind of witch hunting stuff I heard. So when I was, after I graduated from college, I went ahead and got, just for my own edification, I got I wanted to find out if I had ADD. I had several people say, you seem real ADD. You seem like you have ADD. And I thought, and then my mother got diagnosed with it. And she was like, what? Mom was like in her mid 50s when she was diagnosed with ADD.
Yeah.
Or ADHD, actually. And so I went to a professional psychologist about a diagnosis, and it was very much, I thought I'd get an ADD diagnosis. It was very much there's absolutely no question in our mind you have ADHD. So I was 27 when I got that diagnosis. And
what was that line about when you called them?
He was like, I've already called your doctor to talk about medications. We would really think that you will be happier and less stressed. Because I was like, maybe I just have like an anxiety disorder. And the psychologist was like, maybe let's fill out all these forms, like all these case histories, surveys.
Oh, when our family started looking at those forms and just all the questionnaires.
I called a family meeting, and everyone, from our biological family who was still alive and still around came to it. So
and we're just like, oh, this is also part of ADHD? Yes.
And my then husband. Everybody sat at the dinner table. We had a meeting, and we all like filled out this, what was it, like 48-page?
Yeah, it was insane.
Form. It was huge. I thought, well, this will take a few minutes. We were there for like 2.5 hours. I brought out snacks, y'all. Heather says, I just heard you talking about your institutionalization. It's amazing that was still happening even at that time. Yeah, it was still happening in the mid 80s. And it was still happening. It was an abusive way. I actually was being groomed by the assistant director psychiatrist at the institution. I was being groomed in a pedophile way. And so that's a whole other thing. Megan says, my doc wouldn't let me get tested for ADHD until after my anxiety was under control. So I still haven't been officially tested yet. Yeah.
Yeah, anxiety and ADHD do have a large overlap. So I can kind of understand where the doctor's like, it's hard to tell until we can get the anxiety to not be an issue if this is...
Being neurodivergent is very anxiety inducing because it is so stressful and difficult to live in this neurotypical world that is tailor-made for not neurodivergent folk. Like, it's not an umbrella world where everybody can, be accommodated in under the umbrella. It is it's sort of that no dogs allowed thing of like, well, it sucks because I'm a dog. I can't, there's so many places I can't go. That's what it's like being neurodivergent. So it's very hard to completely deal with the anxiety to then figure out the ADHD. So, like, what my psychologist did was these case history survey forms that I had one for me, and then my family had one, and as a family, we filled that out together to go over my case history. Heather says, even more amazing that Temple Grandin's mother refused to institutionalize her. She worked with her at home, teaching her to talk. Oh, yeah, my parents did not willingly institutionalize. They were so upset. As I said, my mother tried to hire a bank robber to literally rob me from the institution and was going to meet him and take me to Mexico. And we would live in Mexico the rest of our lives. She was also going to take Tom because he was, let's see, if I was 6 or 3. And this was the year before our little sister was born. And mom said to Dad, you can either come with us to Mexico or you'll never see your children again. And Dad was like, oh, nuts. So
anyway. And then he calls Mom, and, our father's mother was actually equally had the same views about institutionalization of nobody gets better in an institution.
Nobody.
It is, because her brother had been institutionalized for a temporary time when she was younger. And it had taken so much to get him out. So she immediately started making calls of the, hold on, Patty, before you actually, run the, that scheme. Run the plan.
Yes, the heist.
Before you run the heist, let me make a few more calls. And let's see if I can get him out without you having to leave the country. Because I don't want to have to go travel to Mexico. Let me see if I can do this with politicians.
Yeah, Grandma Marty didn't want to have to go to Mexico all the time to visit her grandkids. So she called up every senator and she called every lawyer she knew trying to essentially get me released. So a lot of privilege and money was necessary. And that is the only way I was released. However, yeah. So anyway, so that was why my mother, even 20 years later, swore me to secrecy to not tell. And so it wasn't until after she died and I realized that I don't necessarily owe promises to dead people, that I started telling a few people about it other than Tom, who I already knew. And that was kind of where, because Dad had already made me promise not to tell anybody about any of my weirdness. He's like, it doesn't matter. There are labels. I'm not going to tell you the labels, but there are words to describe you that other people would use, and none of them are good. None of them will get you awards. None of them will get people to love you more. So I'm not going to tell you, and never tell anyone else that there are labels to attach to you, because none of them will make your life better, easier, or more wonderful. That was how he put it. Now, I mean, obviously I kind of disagree, because knowing how I am has definitely actually relieved a lot of my stress. It's relieved a lot of my internal anxiety about myself. I do a lot less of that internal running over and over something I said to someone weeks, days, hours ago. I don't do that as much because I'm like, I just go ahead and tell everybody. I'm queer. I have ADHD. I'm autistic. If you don't like me, it's fine, but just let me know, because I'm not going to pick up on your cues anyway. So far that's worked out for me. But it helps that I already essentially know who I am, and I'm happy to tell people early on when they seem to like me of like, hey, so I have ADHD, so I do sometimes come off as kind of flitter, kind of airheaded. I don't mean to be, so please feel free to do what you might feel would be nagging. It is not nagging to me. It is an appreciated reminder of things. So that's been very helpful in my relationships, and essentially just being able to be more open with people. If they show a certain level of interest a little later, I then point out that, yes, I am queer, but also I am not into them that way. Again, to make sure that we have shared goals of my goal is friendship. Is your goal friendship, or is your goal actually more? Because I have found out that I have had several girlfriend and boyfriends I was unaware of. And when you had a friend that I was aware of, we were holding hands. It was fine.
Maggie says, some of Maggie's weird stories.
In the late 90s, the doctors were still telling parents of autistic kids that they would never have a normal adjacent life in any way. Yes.
Oh, no.
I think the weirdest thing was when they tried to insist autistic kids couldn't perceive colors or understand music. Yes. And I was looking at my daughter and going, what? Then I read the studies on the basis of these ideas and realized it was science made to fit preconceived notions, ideas, which is the thing greatest warned against in anthropology. Agreed. I also took anthropology. They gave kids 20 dyed popsicle sticks and said to sort by color, not accounting for the fact that no two dyed wooden popsicle sticks look the same. Agreed. Like, neurodivergent folks interpret instructions differently than neurotypical people. Because we see nuance.
I still feel a little bad for what, that poor photography teacher.
Yes, we'll tell you all that story another time. Yeah, exactly. And autistic kids would sort more carefully than regular children. Exactly. Yep. Directions are done differently, which is why Tom and I are talking about setting up a Discord channel or Discord server specifically for our recipes, so that other people can help us test out these recipes and let us know how it went. Essentially, if you are interested in beta testing recipes with us, please let us know. And we will send you an invite to our Discord server once we have it set up. Because we are still working on our cookbook, y'all. Anyhow, well, with that, is there anything more? We have final thoughts. Are we all good?
I think so.
Excellent. So, with that, we hope you are all going to have a wonderful day. If you would like to join us at our after party and you do not already have a StreamYard link, please let me know here or let me know on Instagram or Discord, and I will send you a StreamYard link, or Twitter. I will also, I have Twitter, Instagram, and Discord open right now. Let me know and I will send you a StreamYard link, because we will be at the after party, y'all, chilling and having a good time. So, we love you. We're so glad you're here, and we hope to see you again very soon. All the best, my darlings. Love you.
Bye-bye.